And hello, and welcome back to Vectormen podcast, the only podcast that you, for some reason, are watching instead of Summer Games Done Quick, like a psychopath. It's on right now. What are you doing? You're on Twitch. You, potential viewer, are on Twitch watching us instead.
You must be like me, where you only watch GDQ in VOD form after the fact. Or a crazy person.
This is literally the only interruption between me. It only started, I think, today, maybe yesterday, and this is the first interruption since finding out that it's been on. That I'm like, we just need to get through this. Why did we
start this damn podcast?
How do I get off?
We've delayed this episode like 3 times already, so we need to get it done eventually, or else it'll be the next episode.
Yeah, we can't already have strolled to the 3-week limit we set out for ourselves right out the gate. I think we pushed to 2 weeks this time. So, listeners, it's only going to get more organized going forward.
It's only going to get less consistent and worse SEO optimized as time goes by. In fact, I'm coming at you live right now from my garage because I moved into new accommodations, not my new house, like a sort of in-between accommodations. And I'm not going to be able to scream to the extent that I do without disturbing people. So here I am. I'm in a garage.
Wow.
The acoustics may actually be better than previous.
Is it that because you and your you moved out and your family moved out at like the same time? Have they left their old house as well?
They have.
So your temporary lodgings is literally like a brand new garage you've not spent any time in.
Exactly.
Wow, that's great. We're live from the bunker. That's amazing. All right, follow up. So follow up to episode 40, our first live streaming episode, and we talked a lot about E3, obviously, and all the announcements there, and a lot. One of the prevalent threads of all the games being announced was that the 4-player co-op boom was in, and we were scratching our heads trying to figure that out. I've come up since with a brand new theory as to why that might be happening. It just dawned on me, maybe it's something to do, because the bulk of them as well were announced for Xbox Game Pass. Maybe it's because maybe they're targeting this demographic because on subscription, that kind of game is doing a lot better than it used to in general. Like if everybody's got a subscription and everybody has access to brand new 4-player multiplayer co-op games, that's the exact kind of game that would prolong like a social experience on
it would retain user engagement.
Yeah, exactly. That's my burgeoning theory here. Is the reason why there's such a surge at the moment is because, I mean, in particular Xbox, but in general, I think there's a push for video games being funded that will retain subscription users. And
I had no doubt that there was some market analysis reason for why it's doing so well as a genre, a subgenre. I was mostly just saying that we're utterly bankrupt as an industry creatively, and I hope that the rapture comes soon and absolves us of all this.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the obvious rapture requirements, I was just interested because I really, after that episode, I really was scratching my head trying to figure out why. I was listening back to the episode to do the light edit, and it just kept going through my head like, but what was the trend? Why now are there like 6 of these things after a long, prolonged silence? Are we getting Left 4 Dead alikes in every console on every platform? And that's my leading theory. That's why I think they're funneling the money to prop up things like Xbox Game Pass and whatever its competitors might be called. I'm not sure what they might be. Any follow-up?
I do have one bit of follow-up. I'm not sure if this is from last week or the week prior, but we discussed that very interesting game that's coming out called Card Shark.
Yes, that's right.
I believe I miscalled it card sharps.
Carp
It is
sharps.
not card sharps.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, I was thinking of the Caravaggio painting, which is about the exact same thing, called card sharps. No, it is card sharks. I have left myself out on the Persian boats for the birds to pick away at me over the course of the last few days in order to atone for this grievous mistake.
Of course, as is per usual. Excellent. On my side of things, the only big follow-up I can think of is a major correction from last week's episode, in which a major correction, because I have bought into hype from a trailer and missold our audience information that turned out not to be true, and
Game on you.
I know, exactly. I think the fact we got through so many videos and didn't commit the cardinal sin of overhyping, I want to take some credit for that. There's got to be something in it.
You almost did it. Yeah.
But the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster Collection that I talked about and thought, oh wow, they're really doing it. They're just releasing the original upscaled version of the classic games, no random alterations. Could Square Enix have finally done it? Could they have just given us the fucking products most people are trying to play and just give us the original version with like slightly better quality? But no, that's apparently is not the real case. It's got, man, it's once again another fucking odd, senseless Square Enix port job. It's got, it's
your favorite.
Yeah, of course. I should have fucking known better. I really should have known better. So this version, which is different from all the other versions in slightly weirder ways, it's a mix and match of graphical styles. Like, for example, Final Fantasy 1 will retain the original sprites of the characters your team play as, those iconic, colorful 8-bit characters. But the characters you fight against are almost like re-rendered PlayStation 1 era sprites, and the backgrounds are like lush and lavish, modern-looking reinterpretations of battle scenes, and the map is another take on the PlayStation 1 PSP versions, where they've got like a weird light, like a 3D scroll of the world going on, of the overall overworld map. It's just another fucking mess, and apparently the text in all these games is way too small, and it features a font, as usual, that is not exactly all that good, and not at all very well thought out. And it's just yet another fucking, I can't believe I bought into it. I fucking bought into it. I was like, this time for sure, no matter how many times they strike me down, Square Enix have finally got a port job correct, and they haven't, and I'm sorry that some people, I'm sure, have already rushed out to pre-order the very expensive, as it turns out, remaster collection. It's going for like 80 quid, like if you get all the 6 games, which is
it's
insane.
Things like this, Lee. It's reasons like this that between the two of us, I am the influencer who has influenced a total of 2 people so far, and you have a fat goose egg.
Yeah, I'm not to be trusted. I'll give more weirdo analytical takes on the things I play, and they won't even be for recommendations, like just for me to narcissistically talk about nonsense for a little while. You can be the
always rewarded, listeners.
So yeah, there's that. Last on follow up from me. It's kind of follow up to something you had said, which was you'd never seen a PS5 in the wild. You're not entirely sure they exist. Neither had I until this week. I have seen one, and you could beat a man to death with the size of it. I had not grasped the scale of these things. But
now, are you sure that you didn't just see a refrigerator?
No, it wasn't an Xbox One refrigerator, which apparently exists. No, it was...
You didn't just see Part 4 Jotaro Kujo?
No, I didn't. Oh, God, cat's at the door. All right, that was quick. 10 seconds.
I mean, I can get another one. You didn't see the evil Connor from the end of Detroit Become Human. You didn't see a final level of a Mirror's Edge game. You did. Okay, you're back. Okay, I was running out.
You're running out of Thamp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what was it? A very big Wi-Fi router with sheets of paper strapped to the side.
You didn't see a PogChamp face turned on its side.
Nope, it was a very real PlayStation 5.
I don't believe you, but please continue.
Yeah, it was at CEX, our local gaming haunt, and
do you mean to say it was pre-owned?
Yes, or scalped. Scalped by an actual organization.
And then given the CX don't scalp, do they? It's always cheaper.
I would imagine not, unless they quietly do it via third parties and pay outrageous prices. And to charge outrageous prices, this is probably libel or something. So I'm going to say allegedly a lot there. Allegedly, all these things. This is all a joke. This is just a bit. But yeah, it was going for something like £1,200, which is fucking ludicrous.
Maybe it was scalping then.
Yeah, it has as much chance of being scalping as not. Anyway, so just to confirm, one of the Vectormen hosts has seen a real life one of these things. It's terrifying. It's expensive.
Did you capture the holy grail of cryptid fame, which is a blurry photograph shaking around shaky cam? You think you saw a PS5? I think it's a PS5, but you've got shaky hands that day and your phone's very blurry.
I didn't do that, but I'll be going back to that area probably tomorrow. So yeah, I'll upload that to Twitter. Jesus,
the Twitter
like
to the Twitter.
Johnny Rose.
Take a friend with you. I heard they attack if people go on their own. Leave out some traps. Hope you might capture her alive.
So that's follow-up. Okay. And we'll go over to Lawrence's week. That was a scene transition. On podcast, this is no use to anybody. I just take these parts out. But
transition.
Yeah, we'll play a nice little... one of our usual little beeps and bloops. But on Twitch, I have yet to figure out how to get sound bites in here that isn't really obtrusive and obnoxious. So, Lawrence, how was your week?
My weeks were quite good.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We forgot to... Did we even say this on the podcast, or did we murmur it to ourselves quietly? This week, episode 41, we are going to be doubling up on our topics, because we talked so long about the news last week. We feel it's only right that we talk about 2 games each a piece. So it's a bumper episode. It's another 3-hour podcast, baby.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
So sorry, continue.
Let me just turn my laptop down to battery saver power mode, just to make sure that I get the most out of it, because I might be here a while. Okay, so during my weeks, I'm just gonna say week. That's the ritual at this point. I'm gonna say my week. My week being several weeks long.
Of course.
I played 2 games primarily, both pretty chunky. I'm gonna start with Stellaris.
Oh yes, of course.
Now this is, indeed. This is not my first time at the Paradox Interactive Grand Strategy Rodeo, as I'm sure you know, Lee. I've played Crusader Kings 2 quite a bit, and I'm glad I did, because by the time I got to Stellaris, I was basically crushing it. Right. Because Stellaris is meant to be the accessible baby's first Paradox Grand Strategy game, and it shows. Because with Crusader Kings 2, they're trying to simulate historical, like, complicated Byzantine, sometimes literally Byzantine dynastic politics, and that's quite complicated, even if you're familiar with those things. Whilst Stellaris, it's like, oh well, I mean, you're managing a space emperor, and the leader of that emperor, your president or your dictator or whoever it is, they come and go, but if they die, it's not a big deal. You'll just get a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Whilst,
it doesn't live and die off the dynasty you're crafting. It's more about
mm-hmm.
the market space, the actual resources you've managed to accrue, and the expansion you have.
Mm-hmm. It's yes, in Crusader Kings 2, if your player character, if your current ruler dies and you don't have a successor lined up, you're fucking dead. Or if your dynasty is due to be inherited out of your dynasty and into someone else's dynasty, and they get all your land, you lose there too. With Stellaris, the only way to lose is if every single one of your planets is captured, or all your systems are gone and you're exterminated, and that's quite difficult. Not impossible, very much not impossible, but it is quite difficult. It won't happen. It can't happen within the first hour of play anyway. So Stellaris is what's called a 4X game.
Yeah.
And let's see if I can remember this off the top of my head. It's explore, exploit, exterminate, expand. I got them in the wrong order, but I got it.
That's right. Well done.
Mm-hmm. So Paradox games are known to be quite complicated. Very complicated, in fact.
Yeah.
And Stellaris is the least complicated of them. So don't worry. But don't worry. Like I said earlier, this is my first time to the rodeo, so I know what to do. I'll give you a quick run through of what I did during this game. I picked the starting race of United Nations of Earth. Ordinarily, I would not pick the default humans, but this was my first time playing, and I always want my first time playing to go as smoothly as possible, so I didn't want to do any of the weird shit. The United Nations of Earth are a representative democracy. They are federation builders. They are the xenophile types, and they are egalitarians. They're fanatic egalitarians.
They're like the Star Trek federation of the game, if I recall.
That's right. Stellaris operates on a kind of like axis of politics where you would have xenophile, which means you like aliens, and the opposite of that, the mutually exclusive, is xenophobe, which means you dislike aliens. You could be a authoritarian, which means that you have a lot of centralized power and you repress your people a lot. Or you could be on the opposite axis of that. It's like a star shape. You could be egalitarian, where it's all about equality and stuff like that. Let's see, what are the other axes as well? Oh yeah, there's spiritualist, which means that you're all hippy-dippy and you get like psionic powers and things like that, and you're more attuned to... Your populace is more happy and like to pull their weight a bit more.
Yeah.
And then there is the materialist on the opposite side, which is all about robots and cyborgs and things like that, and we don't believe in any of that spiritualist shit. And each one of these political axes has a fanatical version of each, which gives you more bonuses if you pick it, but it means that you're more standoffish with people on the opposite side of the axes. So my start was xenophile, fanatic, egalitarian.
Right. Okay.
I was very fortunate. The first empire I ever met, I made friends with. That's a relief. And the second, also a relief, which meant that I wasn't going to be fucked because I started off next to a fanatic, xenophobic exterminator or something like that, which can happen.
I guess for a sort of grasping of where you were in this game, how many kind of runs of the game did you get in?
Like... just the one.
Oh wow, Jesus!
But these games go on for a while.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I think I played something like 10 hours of this a year and a half ago, and I can't remember if I met another race for some reason. I maybe did. I probably did, but I don't remember having any meaningful interactions. I don't really think I grasped a lot of what happened or what was happening. I just kept expanding and then getting kind of told off for expanding too fast or something like that. And you know, it's the baby's first whatever you call that company again.
Paradox Interactive
game, but for me it was my absolute first experience, and I was not easily acclimatized to what the fuck was going on.
That's the thing with Paradox games, is that tutorialization teaches you the broad strokes and the basics, but things like how do I land an army on this planet, or what determines why is my fleet, even though it was 5k stronger than this other one, I've been destroyed, why did that happen? Or how do I do the very basic things? Or why is my economy shit now? It was fine 2 years ago. Nothing's changed. Why am I suddenly in a massive deficit? And I'm bankrupt. Wow. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. But like I said, the thing with Paradox Interactive Games is that you can pause or you can slow down the progressive time in order to, bail out the ship as it's sinking.
Yeah, of course.
By the way, if you're at a deficit and you don't know why, it's almost always a population problem because you need pops in order to make things for you. And if you're at a deficit and you look at your plants, you go, "Oh, I've got like 5 pops that are unemployed. I better do something about that, like right now."
Yeah, but, that definitely rings a bell. I just don't know if I can figure. I don't think I figured out how to address that. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
the third race I met, they were not cool and they were not fun at first. Anyway, but we'll get that out a little bit later. The way that the layout in this game, you might be thinking, listener, of Civilization, which is probably the most basic version of this type of game. You're probably thinking of hexes. This game, Stellaris, doesn't work on hexes. It's like how do I explain this? It's like a spider web of star systems that are connected to each other. And defense or defending your territory is almost entirely done through choke points, where you'll have 3 that belong to me, and then a 4th one that belongs to an enemy. But since there's only one point of contact between my empire and their empire, all I need to do is shore up defenses on that one point of contact, and I should be safe most of the time. But they can always bring an insurmountable force, which can happen. It can be quite nasty. You do this by putting star bases in, which are just like basically a big fortress at the center of the system that they need to defeat in order to get past. And combat is also determined by ship type and the composition of the weapons that you put on your ships. You can micromanage if you want, or you can just get an AI to go, give me the best version of whatever I've researched, which is what you're going to be doing.
Sweet ass, I defaulted to that, yeah. Did I want to micromanage each cannon on my ship? No, I did not.
Yeah, you're not going to be doing that until you get to the very end of the game when things are getting a little bit tight. Combat's mostly decided by numbers. It's same in Crusader Kings 2, and I presume the other ones as well, where if you've got 10k and they've got 5k, you're going to win.
Yeah.
I was surprised by how well my computer ran it. It ran it a lot better than CK2. CK2, like, it runs it decent enough, but it's spluttering and gasping the entire time that I'm playing it. Whilst Stellaris, even though there's ostensibly a bit more going on, it's on a bigger scale, it didn't have any trouble at all. I think it's because Crusader Kings is simulating the decisions made by thousands of AIs in the world at any given time, which is that might have something to do with it. Stellaris, since it isn't all determined by characters making decisions, it's civilizations making decisions, then I guess it's a lot less hardware intensive. I will say, don't zoom in on naval battles later in the game. That's a bad idea. You don't want to do that. I learned that the hard way.
But they're so appealing. They're all swishy, and all the ships swirl around each other in a dazzling display. That's what you're there for.
It is very appealing, I will say. One thing I must point out is I played the base version of this game. I did not buy the DLCs. I know that the Paradox business model is to have a shit ton of DLCs that drastically improve the base game. I always play the first game I play on vanilla, and if any Steam summer sales come on soon that include the DLCs for this game, you better believe I'm going to be picking them up because I love that shit.
You don't rush out and buy all the expansions of Catan before you've ever played Catan.
It's very clear. My understanding is that the DLCs fix a lot of the problems I have with the base game, because at the 60% mark, about 60% through the game, there was a big old slump.
Yeah,
I was getting a little bit bored, and there wasn't a lot to do. All of my allies recently, I had federated, and we were all in a big federation. And my closest aggressive empire, I had crushed immeasurably because I'm very good at this game, and they are not. Also, I had like a teammate federated with me with a defense pack, so we just collectively ruined them. Although it's worth pointing out that you can't really rely on your allies, but computer allies anyway. They'll hold the fort. They'll stop people from, I guess, flanking you, but
Sure.
you're going to need to take the offensive, especially with federations where later on in the Federation tree, you gain Federation XP over the course of the game, and once it gets to a certain point, you can create a Federation fleet where you'll chip in like 10% of your navies to create a super Federation fleet that none of you control directly, but it's controlled by whoever the Federation leader is, and whoever the Federation is rotates on a certain basis every time. Lots of politics in this game. I love it.
How long did the game take in general? Like, how long is roughly a game of Stellaris?
Well, I only played one game, so if I were to look at Steam right now, it might be able to tell me the answer.
Because I would love to figure out where that. I presume I can't tell whether I was just slow off the mark, but the game was progressing as intended while I was playing, or I just spent way too long in like pause situations.
67.4 hours.
That's
no,
an
investment. To be clear, I do like to micromanage. And I mentioned about that slump at the 60% mark. After a while, I went, I feel pretty confident where I am, and I just brought it up another speed, so time went by faster. So
yeah.
I would say if I knew what I was doing from the get-go, it's probably closer to like 55 to 60 hours, which admittedly is still not great.
It's a lot of Civilization games kind of feel the same, and also Civilization games, especially in that base model, tend to have a similar slump. So it should be 1-to-1 generally. Like if people enjoy Civilization, like I enjoy Civilization, I love Civilization. If you can get if you enjoy that, but you're feeling numbers, it doesn't have enough numbers and enough shady deals. Then still, if you can wrap your head around Stellaris. That's why I got into it. I initially I was really bought in. I spent a lot of time scanning over and reading all the different government types and species types and like empire buffs and that kind of stuff. So I did get familiar with the game. It just that when playing it, I felt like a lot of things kept happening that I couldn't navigate around the game to figure out how to solve. Did you at any point have to look up like a YouTube video or anything, or like a wiki how?
I definitely had to hit up the wiki a couple of times because I was pretty good at naval battles because Crusader Kings 2, it's very similar. Just have a bigger army and outfit them with better weapons, and you'll be grand. Give them a general. That's all you need, or an admiral, I should say. But there was a point where I got a random event where it's like, hey, we discovered this ancient terraforming technology on one of the planets we've colonized. What do we do? Shall we scavenge it or turn it on or see what happens? Dedicate some of your research time to figuring out this problem. I said, make it so, turn it back on, see what happens. And a bunch of like terrible alien monsters came out and started killing my colonists. And I was like, oh.
Well, that's
okay.
Worst case scenario.
This is what I call what I like to think as the ground combat trial by fire, because it's like, okay, so how do I land troops on a planet, and how do I win army battles on planets, and where do I get troops, and I have to transport them manually, and I need to embark them onto spaceships and then fly them over here and then disembark them, and I need to have a general, and it was it wasn't easy. It wasn't very intuitive, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
But come late game, I knew what I was doing and I was destroying folks, so don't worry about that. I adapt quickly in these games. You have to, Lee, or you die.
Did you get that eventual sort of cathartic high where things were starting to click and make sense, and
like a well-oiled machine, Lee.
You could stop looking at the wiki after a while, and you could spend up to 20 hours without any additional information, and then you could feel like a king at last.
Perhaps too much like a king. This is a minor spoiler, but it's not much of a spoiler. But at the 3/4 mark in the last century of the game, the what's called the end game crisis happens.
All right.
It's sort of like the Reapers from Mass Effect, where this big, terrible outside context problem from beyond the galaxy shows up, and all the players have to either team up in order to defeat it, or be so sufficiently powerful that they can take it on themselves.
Sure.
And I knew this was going to happen. I didn't know which one it was going to be. You don't really know until it happens.
Right.
And
it could be
I
a
had
different type of invading force.
Yeah, but I had someone in a Discord server with me who was making lots of sort of subtle, oh, you better be ready when they come. Oh, we've got an End Crisis Virgin over here. This is gonna be fun, you know.
Wow.
And let's just say that I overcompensated, and they didn't last like 3 years in game years. Because I just immediately went over to them and like crushed them and the portal that they came out of, and I was like, oh, whoops.
That's a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was.
Stellaris has like difficulty options though, right? So you can like tune it.
It does, yeah.
Like Civilization. Once you've mastered, Prince mode, you knock it up to King, or whatever.
It does have like that, and it's a lot more granular than that. You can say, "Oh, I want the End Crisis to happen 100 years early or 200 years early," or things like that.
Good.
So you can really fuck yourself over.
Or give yourself an actual challenge. Given crushing them in 3 years sounds pretty abysmal.
There was one other thing which helped me as well, which is that the endgame crisis spawned next to, quote, a fallen empire. And what this is on the game map, much in the same way that in Civilization you have city-states. In Stellaris you have fallen empires, which are empires from, I guess you could say, the previous generation of spacefaring civilizations who have got really, really big, and they had their game of Stellaris, and then they won, and then they just sort of stagnated, and their borders shrunk, and they just sort of mostly keep them themselves. They're mostly there to act as a huge barrier that you do not wish to fuck with, because even though their system might be like only 8-star systems big, they've unlocked all of the techs in the game from the very beginning. And they will waffle stomp you immediately if you start ship with them for like 90% of the game.
Sure.
So the endgame crisis spawned right next to them and started picking a fight with them, and I went, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go step in here and boop, let that play out, and then nip that in the bud. Boop, there we are. Problem solved. Man, that was easy. Don't know what the whole fuss was about. Hey.
So how do you win ultimately? I mean, dealing with the end crisis is just the final hurdle, surely. Then is it whoever deals with that the most efficiently is the winner of the game, or is it just a tally or a score by the end?
It's a score by the end. It's you'll have a big leaderboard, and it'll have like 10 civilizations and the 2 fallen empires, and it'll say by 2500 AD, this team will have won the game.
Oh right, yeah. They put the pressure. They highlight. It's like I think they used to do that in Age of Empires, where they like alert you that somebody was clearly going to win unless you teamed up and started ganging up on them. They were going to walk away with it.
Yes, it is very much a crabs in the bucket mentality. That's what they're meant to cultivate. Fortunately for me, I had spent most of the first half of the game making friends, and nobody was going to step to me, partially because I was technologically superior in every way, and my civilization was like a fucking fortress. All those choke points have been firmly secured. Nobody was getting in. No way. But nobody wanted to, because I had spent the whole game schmoozing, getting everybody on my side, and everyone else who wasn't was quickly crushed beneath my benevolent heel. So the only 2 people who stood in my way by the very end were the 2 fallen empires. So by that point I was ready. I won't lie, there was a little bit of save scumming. I tried not to save scum as best I could, but every once in a while you would trip over a mechanic where I didn't know that worked that way. Or why is this happening? This is not supposed to be happening. Why isn't this working? And then now all of my army is dead and they're ransacking my choke points. That's no good. So I'll reload, and I won't do that cataclysmic mistake that I made based on a misunderstanding.
I mean,
it's a learning curve.
First game, there's gonna be a lot of moments like that.
I might do an Iron Man game at some point where there is no save scumming at all. You just skip one save file, and that's it.
I mean, that's where I'm at with Civ these days. You know, basically you just suck it up. If you lose, you lose. But you don't do that. You don't do that in your first outing.
With the DLCs, you now have a mid-game crisis called the Great Khan, who is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a space Khan. Space Genghis Khan comes and
Amazing.
starts ransacking the galaxy and vassalizing everybody. It's kind of like the Mongols from CK2, but I've never had to deal with the Mongols in CK2 because I always stayed the fuck away from them because they are terrifying. CK2, it's always like, oh, let's see what's happening over in mainland Asia. Oh my god, just terrible.
Same old. Mongol horde.
You would zoom in and you would see a red army that's several orders of magnitude bigger than any army that you've seen in the game up until this point, and you go, well, glad I'm not one of those fuckers. Glad I don't have to deal with that. I'm just going to stay over here in Ireland, Noob Island, where I can't be invaded by anybody except the English.
What species did you go for? I don't. If you did say it, I didn't really catch it.
Oh, I started as the humans, the basic bitch humans.
Oh yes, but of course.
Because I was a xenophile, that was my civic, and I had an open migration treaty with just about everyone. I would have all sorts of populations from all sorts of aliens, and even at one point, several of my leaders were aliens. They were not humans. They were like neighboring aliens that had come and grown up in my empire and become naturalized citizens, and they were eligible for leadership. And I'm like, oh, what a wonderful eclectic civilization I've built. And I looked at my nearest neighbor, and the one that I had first made friends with. I'm like, 1 century in, their leader was a human, and I'm like, yes, wow. Spread.
Wow. It's all a ploy at the end of the day. This cinephilia is just a.
All this talk about love and tolerance, it was all a work.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Go in there and spread the good genes.
And what government did you say? Democratic?
Yes, it was the government type determines how your leaders are elected.
Sure. Yeah.
And mine was the representative democracy, which just means that at the end of every time my leader dies or at the end of their term, a big vote based on the political factions that are in game, like the faction for alien representation vote have a democratic weight of 25%, and they contribute that much, or we want there to be less war party, or we want there to be more war party, or we want more materialism or more spiritualism party.
When you formed the federation, did they get a say on who was elected, or did that alter in any way?
Federations, as I understand it, do not influence the internal politics of your empire. It's more like an EU thing, or like a United Nations sort of thing.
I see.
Yes.
I remember picking in my run.
Because Lee, as I'm sure you're well aware, everyone knows how the EU works and how the United Nations works, and the internal politics of each. That's public knowledge. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
I might play once I get the DLC. I think I'll play as one of the robot races. I might play as the rogue I'll play as the assimilator, the determined assimilator, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna cyborgize everybody I meet.
I'm actually surprised that wasn't your first protocol, although it makes sense. Oh, right, okay. It would also make sense to play it safe and do the neutral democratic run, the one that just sort of screams baby's first government before you do any of the weird ones. I made the mistake of running straight into I'm going to run an oligarchy, and I like that kind of running of one of these civilizations, because usually it becomes about commerce and bribing people off. And, I don't know. I always find if you hoarding money and then spending that for political favor is a more fun way to engage with these games. Maybe not the best system in real life, but a fun way for video games.
Good disclaimer. Lee very much playing the "I'm going to pay you $200 to fuck off" type.
That's why I should never be in power. But yeah, I also found that that was probably worked against my favor, as I had to double down on figuring out where the hell money was coming from, which then when I didn't have money, people started revolting en masse and stopped mining and stuff because people weren't getting paid enough and we expanded too far, and when the social currency is cash and you don't have any, the whole thing just doesn't function. So probably would have been smarter to try, I don't know, something slightly more moral on the first run.
Yeah, the representative democracy, it's like, oh, every time a new leader is elected, they're given a mandate, which is, we need you to buy, but before the end of your term, you need to build 2 mining stations.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you get a huge bonus to your, it's called, what is it? Is it traditions? No, maybe it is traditions. It's the equivalent of the civilization culture thing,
Sure.
where you get a bonus from like a trees, like liberty or piety or rationalism, those things. And if you don't get by the end of it, it'll affect that leader's chances of being re-elected, which might be bad because they have really nice bonuses. But otherwise, it's no biggie. You know, they'll elect somebody else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ultimately, the motherland will survive.
I'm going to be playing a lot more of this in the future, which is a relief because our new recording structure allows me to do so, and because it's quite long. Also, I'll be playing through games faster because I know what I'm doing now, which helps.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Maybe
it'd be fun to check back in on this and see all the different stories and tales you can bring when you mix and match with the types of races and governments you're playing as.
I'll probably take more notes when I'm playing as well, so I can give you more of an after-action report than simply
perfect
half-remembered. Oh yeah, I think this happened. That was pretty interesting, or something like that.
I'm gonna need straight anecdotes next time. Gonna need names,
sure
details.
I will.
When did Genghis show up, and what did he do?
Maybe we can play a multiplayer game over. Over Vectormen Live, perhaps.
Ooh, yeah, that's I guess that's a firm kick in the ass to actually learn it. Let me try that first and get back to you on that. But that's a good idea.
I promise I will be very gentle.
Oh yeah, no, it's not you. I'm worried about the systems. I'm not so worried about the players. You know,
I'll be there to explain it all to you. And,
that does work. That does help.
I promise I'll be super honest.
That'll be a very long stream. It's gonna be episode after episode. Oh yeah, but that's great.
All right, so I guess I better discuss the other big thing that I played, which is something that I've been sitting on for some time, and I think you bought for me. I don't recall. It was Hades, Supergiant's Hades.
Yes, I think that was a Christmas present. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Circumstances
Birthday,
did not.
One or the other.
Circumstances did not permit me to play it because of dissertation things.
Sure.
So, no, by the way, I got you one. Whoop whoop.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I told you before, but the listeners didn't know, so I needed the opportunity to get that out there and brag.
Yes, thank you, poker playing robot. You've done it. You did your job.
No, Hades. I'm not going to bury the lead with this one. I'm just going to say it. It is excellent. It's utterly fantastic. It's probably my least favorite of the Supergiant games, but that's not because it's bad. It's simply because I like the other ones more. I think it's an exercise in them trying to mash their very good approach of integrating gameplay and story with the roguelite genre. Yeah, it's a very interesting. It's a very, very interesting experiment. And I have to say, I'm glad that they did it. It was very ambitious of them. It probably wasn't easy.
Yeah, I don't think it gets enough credit for being as wildly ambitious as it is in terms of how well it carries narrative threads through a roguelite structure. It must be one of the most difficult coding feats to figure out, even pacing, and to have it be anywhere near as effective as it is. It's just a shocking accomplishment.
No, this isn't our first time discussing it. Of course, you mentioned it when you played it back on a previous episode of the podcast. But for listeners who need reminding, you play as Zagreus, the son of Hades, attempting over and over and over in order to escape the underworld, to fight your way out. And if you die, you start right back at the House of Hades, and you have to fight your way out again and again. And the levels shift around. It's a roguelite. You get boons from the Olympian gods, which act as your buffs. And if you die, you lose those buffs and have to start again, but you do accrue permanent bonuses that stack up over the course of the game, which help you escape, etc., etc. Now, I do know, you explained it to me back when you played it, but immediately I grokked by what you meant when you said that they had perfected the loop.
Yeah, right.
Which is rather than you being happy to go out there and fight and play the game, you're also happy to die, so you come back and go. So it's like two ways.
Yeah.
Like imagine two arrows going in a circle. It's a cycle. I'm happy to die and go back to the house because it means I get to talk to my NPC friends.
Get to check in. Get to polish up the bedroom.
Mm-hmm. You get to buy improvements to the house and hear your dad's catty remarks about each and every one of them. So much so that there were ones that I really wanted to buy and I had the resources for it, but I chose not to because he happened to be out for a piss break and I wanted to hear what he had to say.
That's a good point. It is everything. It does lack punch when you don't get to hear Hades blithely comment on all your petty purchases.
You know, I just want to say hi to the Cerberus. He's like, she's bothering the dog. Oh. Hades is great. I love his cattiness. I love how much of an asshole he is. It's just like, you really are an idiot, aren't you?
How did you find Zagreus? Was he too much of a Trevor Belmont, or did it not strike you as bad as that?
Not even remotely the same.
Good.
Much better. Yeah.
There's always that risk. I don't know where your line is that you didn't like Trevor, so I have to like tepidly wonder, like, is this kind of sarky attitude a Trevor?
No. His the thing about Zagreus is that he's bitchy and catty with his dad and just his dad, and everybody else he's perfectly respectable and nice and cheerful too.
That's true.
What a lovely young man.
Yeah.
What a lovely young man that Zagreus, who's probably older than I am.
By several hundred decades. Yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, but yes, the loop, the cycle, it did you find that it pulls you back into going out and leaving the pits of Hades itself and stepping back into the core gameplay loop?
Funnily enough, there were like several moments where I died, where I would die and I'd be like, and then I would glance down to see I had some nectar to give to like Dusa or something. I was like, yeah, and then I would go out back into the actual gameplay with the combat. I'm like, oh, this is such a drag. I have to go back to fight my way out again. Jeez, why can't I just give items to NPCs back at the house over and over again?
That's what I call the persona effect, where you get so into the intricacies of the social system that you start to slowly begrudge the somewhat lacking, comparatively, straightforward run through a place and twat monsters core gameplay loop that apparently they really want you to take part in. Even with the improvements to each game, right up to 5, gives you improvements to the combat to make it feel more and more satisfying to play, but it never grabs you in the same way as just wandering around town and chatting to your friends and micromanaging your social diary and calendar. And Hades has very much the same thing going for it, where like I need more from these guys. I don't why isn't there like a dating sim version of this where we could just spend most of the game here? And then it just fast forwards, gives you oh man, what would it be? It'd be like one of those like auto click games, whatever you call those.
Auto clickers?
Is that what they're called? I feel like I pulled that out of nowhere.
Where you just click and click over and over and over.
Yeah, it gives you a bunch of resources to then level up a bunch of numbers. There's got to be a version of Hades where it just cuts out the action part and gives you like, and you got this much nectar on one run. And you're like, woo! Now to go and spend it with my friends. I love that you mentioned Medusa as your example, by the way.
To give you an idea of where I am now, I'm at the credits, which I suppose technically means I've beaten the game, but it really feels I'm more at the 3/4 mark more than anything else. Because if that was the ending, that was a pretty limp ending.
Yeah. The cycle is truly only beginning.
I guess at this point I'm doing the last of the prophecies, which are the complete certain tasks in a certain way in order to get a bonus. I'm giving all the affection items to each of the gods to make sure that all my affection meters are boosted to the highest that they can be. And I'm going to try and get the last Skelly statue, which is going to be a fucking nightmare.
Skelly statue. I don't.
Yeah, if you, whenever you escape for the first time, spoilers, you can escape multiple times. It's a roguelite, it's a cycle, whatever. You can do you remember the Pact of Punishment?
Not in words.
It is a staple of Supergiant Games where they allow you to put in optional additional difficulty modifiers.
Oh yes, of course.
Things like, enemies drop a bomb when they died, or they have more armor, or they hurt you more when they hit you, or you get
better resources back for taking on these challenge modifiers. That's right.
Well, if you stack 8 of them, you get a statue from Skelly who says, hey, you get a bragging rights reward if you do 8 of these things.
Wow.
And then another one for 16. And then another one for 32, and that's the one I'm on, and it's proving quite difficult, which is, I suppose, the point.
I had not messed around with that enough to find that out, but that makes it very intriguing, yes.
Because there's boss modifiers as well, such as fighting all 3 of the Furies at once.
Oh my god, that's great.
Instead of just fighting Megara or Alecto or Tisiphone, you can have all 3 of them fighting you, and there's unique dialogue for that.
That's great.
Can I just say that the difficulty ramp on this game, the Furies are great, fine, and the Bone Hydra is fine, but the jump of difficulty when you get to the Champions of Elysium is fucking redonkadonk. It's ridiculous.
Insane. In some ways, they're often a harder feat to beat than Hades himself. They're an absolute crazy fucking nightmare. And you really need to have the right weapon with the right stats, or it's just not going to happen. Or you'll limp through. But with such a deficit to health and resource that you can barely carry on and recover by the next final dungeon.
The difference between this game and Transistor and Bastion, I think, in terms of the additional modifiers to difficulty, is that they're tied to progression here because they reward you with additional ambrosia or nectar or diamonds, which you need to progress the story and progress character subquests, which means that I feel obligated to do them now, which is quite annoying because there were serious points during the game in the middle where I was trying to get a Pact of Punishment run that was very difficult, where it honestly started, fittingly enough, talk about gameplay and story integration, it started to feel like a job. I had all the nectar given out, but I didn't have much ambrosia, so, I would die. He'd be clocking in at work, hi Hypnos, hi Achilles, hi Than. Cerberus, who's a good boy, hi Dad, hi Orpheus, hi Nyx, hi Meg, hi Dusa, hi Skelly. Alright, back to work.
Yeah, you truly embody the Zagreus character as he limply, begrudgingly steps back out again and again, barely waving to his friends in each run. Does happen.
Speaking of Orpheus, man, that guy is punching above his weight, huh? She's out of your league, man, but you made it. Great job. Fantastic.
He also blew it, though.
He also blew it super hard. But
he famously blew it as hard as one can.
It was probably the most famous blowing it in history. But you can help him out there, so that's not too big a deal.
You can patch things up. It's good. Did you get any? Did you get any weird secret boss fights or anything?
Weird secret boss fights? Oh, do you mean Charon?
Yeah, that's the only one I could think of. I don't know if there's more.
Which was purely by accident, and I felt really bad about it the first time it happened.
I know, he's such a cool guy. It's awful. It feels awful to betray him by... I can't really remember, just sort of rob him.
Yeah, so what happens is... this happened to me... The first time this happened was after I had maxed out his bond. So that I was at the highest affection level for him. And behind him is a big sack of money. And when you go up to it, it says borrow. And it gives you 300 Charon's Obol. And I thought, oh, this must be a reward for maxing out the affection meter.
Yeah.
And then I take it, and then, phew! Record scratch. Charon turns around, immediately, and you go, was I not meant to do that? And then he kicks your ass in a boss battle that you're entirely unprepared for.
That's great.
And I felt terrible about that. But if you beat him, he gives you a loyalty card, so it's 20% off everything. So I guess it's no hard feelings.
I gotta finally get that. He's like the Sephiroth fight in Kingdom Hearts. You're just gonna have to knock your head against the wall just to do it.
Hermes, there's Hermes gives you a mission to beat him twice in a row, which I did the first time I tried, so I'm very pleased about that.
Wow, I haven't beat him.
Abuse of death defiance is what you need to do there.
I see.
Doesn't matter if you die afterwards. So long as you beat him twice in a row, then you're good.
Right, nice.
You get a reward for that. Speaking of rewards, the list of minor fates, which is I mentioned that earlier. It's the fates giving you a list of things they've predicted, and if you fulfill them, you get bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good feature because it makes you experiment with like combinations of weapons and get weapons to the end of the game that you wouldn't have done otherwise. So it's in it's in Bastion, it's in Transistor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be a bit of a drag. Combined with the Pact of Punishment, it feels like a job thing.
It's very much it grasps at the heart of every trophy hunter, achievement hunter out there that just wants to max out all the stats, and it becomes an absolute drag. It's just like, go out there and 500 more kills by this weapon, please. And you're like, okay, fine.
Or it's like, I need to get to the end. I need to beat Hades with this weapon using this aspect, but it sucks. This is my least favorite one. It sucks.
Yeah, of
the
course.
Guan Yu spear, it sucks. I don't like it.
You don't like the spear?
I like the spear. I just don't like the Guan Yu aspect of the spear.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is the one that halves your health and you regenerate it if you do the spinning one, but the spinning attack is shit.
That does suck. There are a lot of really iffy options to in the aspects that just make a run invalid and unfun. And yeah, the minor fates really drags all of those to the fore for way too long.
But the reward is 5 diamonds, and I need those diamonds to put a disco ball in the lounge, damn it!
What will Hades scorn you with that day? It's gotta be like the biggest fuck you. Oh man, you're making me want to play it again. I still do pick it up from time to time because it's on Switch, so it's easy to run in for me and just do a run and go like, oh yeah, that was fun. But obviously, with this show, I can't just play the things I really want to play. I can't just play Hades all day. I can't just play Solitaire. I can't just play Mahjong, because I can't just bring those to the podcast. Nobody wants to hear me talk about Apple Arcade Solitaire stories.
Our new recording arrangement allows you to do that. You have more flexibility. Because you better believe I'm going to be playing more Stellaris in the future, and I might not necessarily bring it up on this podcast, but now that we have 2 or 3 weeks between episodes, I can afford to do that.
That's true.
One for me and one for them, just like that. Easy, boom.
That is true. And, facetiously, as I say that, I have been playing a lot more Solitaire on my phone. Staring into an abyss. Like, wow. You're an old person now, Lee. You play Solitaire for relaxation.
Now, of course, it goes without saying this is a Supergiant game. It is a audio-visual treat. The music is fantastic. It's emotionally resonant in that way that they always do. Did you know that the composer for this game, Darren Korb, he also voices Zagreus?
No, I did not.
He also voices Skelly. Is there no end to this man's talent? Wow. My jealousy is immeasurable.
Like a Danny Elfman thing. Yeah.
He's a triple threat.
Unreasonable.
He can voice act really well. He can make music really well, and I don't know, maybe he can dance. That wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Cool hair and something else.
At this point, I can immediately pinpoint the Darren Korb stand-in character, because there was one in Pyre as well. Then you can go, oh, this is the character that plays the Darren Korb music.
Yeah.
Whenever. And here it is, it's Orpheus. It's like, oh, I play the music. Will you be singing at some point later on? And will Darren Korb's beautiful, angelic voice be coming out of you? I think so. And there's the stand-in for the female vocalist whose name sadly escapes me at this time. She was in Transistor, she was Red. And she was a minstrel in Pyre as well, and she's Eurydice in this game. The singing voice, anyway.
Sure.
Game is filled with all sorts of details where... things like in the molten rivers of Asphodel, Zagreus' feet don't scorch the ground because he has feet of fire because he's a god. And that in every other level. If you're in Tartarus, if you walk around, you'll notice his feet scorch the ground. But in Asphodel, because it's a big magma area, it doesn't. Because why would it? It's like, oh, that's a neat detail. You didn't need to do that, but you thought it through. Very
Yes,
good.
and in the snows on the surface, I believe it leaves like footprints as you walk. That's pretty great.
It does, and they accurately indicate on the HUD whenever you kill an enemy in the River Fledgleon that it was a magma kill, not a lava kill, because you're underground. Very pleasing.
Very
It
good.
pleases me.
Very specific. It's good. It's interesting to get after all this time to get the other take on Hades, which is the one from someone who has come from the Supergiants catalog and is working their way through to keep up with the company. So it's good that from your perspective we get to see where it kind of fits in. Like, I played a bunch of those Supergiant games, but I don't think I've beaten any of them other than Hades. Barely beaten Hades. And I certainly don't, follow the company as closely as you do. It's like stalker levels of what you doing now, Supergiant?
What's the soundtrack for your new game, Darren Core? Sign it, please.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to have the sort of fool take here, the sort of ingratiated take and the sort of outsider take, all in one excellent podcast. I have to say, I have to say that. Or they'll get me.
Like I said, it is my least favorite of the bunch. I couldn't call it the weakest of the bunch. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but it is my least favorite of the bunch. But I do like it a lot, mostly because I felt that as a grand experiment, it's very interesting, but the non-linear nature of it sort of messes with the pacing of the story. That could have just been me, like a person. Like I said, trying to go for the minor list of fates at the same time as doing as many packs as punishment as I could. That could just be the equivalent of me attempting to bring all my shopping in one trip.
Yeah.
My fingers bleeding. I can do it. I'm the strongest man alive, except I'm not.
Yeah, not taking the time to relax with Hades, to calm, chill with Hades, as I believe it is intended to be played. But I guess that's something you can now do, now that the burden, it's Sisyphean. What the fuck? What was that word? Sisyphean. Well done. Boulder.
And you better believe
off your back.
You better believe the moment I escaped for the first time, the first thing I did was give him a nectar because I felt like he and I had just become one in common.
Very good.
We had become very similar in that one regard.
Yeah, of course.
I will say this: of all the Supergiant games I've played, this is the one that crashes the most often by far, by a substantial margin.
At least you didn't get it in early access.
No, I didn't get it early access. That's a relief that I didn't. I will say that One minute. Just leave it. I'll do it. All right. I don't know where they are. Sorry. Someone's pestering me because I remind you I'm in a garage right now.
Of course. These are the things, Twitch viewers, you never get to hear.
Someone's coming in looking for golf clubs.
9:10 at night. Amazing. It's like midnight golf.
No, well, maybe this might taint people's opinions of my opinions, but my favorite Supergiant game was Pyre, so which I understand is the least popular of the bunch, but I will die on this hill.
That's the one I haven't played at all. I'd say probably the next one that I played that I liked most was Transistor. But again, I didn't beat it, so I don't know. I didn't beat it or Bastion, so I don't know if they really hold up. I would like to beat Transistor at some point. I think I still have my file for it. So I'm just scaring cats with pillows. They're doing that little scratchy on the floor thing.
It's Transistor's definitely the most stylish of the bunch. It's the most slick, I think. Could just be the Art Deco aesthetic, though. That goes a long way. Anyway, Hades. It's a good game. I like it a lot. I'm going to be chipping away at it, and I was about to say I'll have it finished.
Don't do that to yourself.
We meet on this blasted heath, but no, I don't think that's.
It's not time for the long haul. Just relax, breathe in, chill out, enjoy Hades for what it really is, which is it is a job, but it's one that you kind of want to, the pay is good.
It's supposed to be a job.
It's more like a hobby. And is that your week?
That is indeed been my capital W week.
Excellent. All right. Do you want to take a break, or shall we go on to my week?
Take a quick break.
Okay, we'll be right back. And we're back.
A dinosaur story.
Took me a second to piece that together. I don't know why.
Yeah, one last thing about Haze. It may crash a lot, but it saves after every chamber, so I didn't lose any progress, so that's a relief.
That's good. Yeah.
Especially in the area that you go to after you escape. Rest assured, every line of dialogue you get there is to be treasured, and if I were to lose any one of them, I would be devastated.
Mm-hmm. You're just you're backtracking after you dragged Hades for its constant crashing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's my week. 2 games.
Tell us about your weekly.
Yes. Yeah. Today I'm representing PlayStation. I've got 2 games that at one point or another were exclusives to Sony PlayStation consoles. This is just randomly, I happened to pick that as the theme. I happened to play 2 games. But, you know...
Even after you turned your back on Sony in that real dramatic way that you did?
That's it. That really... Yeah. Each of these games are not on the PlayStation 5 yet. One of them, the first one I'm going to talk about, will never be on the PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
The first game I'm going to be talking about is 2000, and I should have looked up the 2008's Haze for the PlayStation 3.
Well, the meme becomes real. You really went for it, huh?
What do you mean?
After joking about it for so long.
What, did I? Is this a thing? Have I just been laying groundwork for this? Subconsciously?
Well, yeah. It has come up in conversations, like, let me put it like this. The title Haze, the game Haze, has come up in conversation between us over the last couple of years a congruous amount of times.
Oh, really? Wow.
If only
My
because if only you snapping your fingers and going, what was the name of that fucking first person? And I would go, it's Haze. You're thinking about Haze.
Well, I've taken several additional steps beyond apparently constantly forgetting and asking about Haze, and have now fully experienced it.
You're talking about the 2008 Halo killer, Haze?
I sure am. 2008's PlayStation 3's exclusive killer. Halo killer. Free Radical's final game? I think it's their final game.
I wonder why.
The game that instead only killed Free Radical, not Halo.
Mm-hmm.
A game...
Haze will be the Haze killer.
A game that Shane, my brother Shane, recalled with delayed sarcasm as a very good advertising campaign. So for those who don't remember or know, I mean, it's perfectly respectable if you've never even heard of this.
I think it would be not unfair to say that Haze's greatest contribution to popular culture is the zero punctuation episode that was made for it, and that's about it.
That's about as far as it's going to go, exactly. Those who don't, so Haze was a PlayStation 3 game released in 2008 by Free Radical Design, who were the creators of Time Splitters. And
things.
Yeah. I think most of the core staff these days have formed a new company and are working together again, if I recall. They've been on Kickstarter for Time Splitter-esque projects in the works, something like that. Like a remake, I think, is in the works. That
sounds like something that's been the case for years.
The
Mindgate conspiracy gets spiritual successor is like a headline that I've been hearing for at least a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the only news I can recall about that time splitter game is that it's constantly running into trouble. So, but I don't know. I haven't been up. I'm not au fait on that right now. So I will check back in. Let's call that follow up. That's going to be follow up.
Yeah, it's the PlayStation crowd's System Shock 3, if you like.
Oh, yeah, sure. uh, so initially, Haze was a plan to be an Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3 game until publisher Ubisoft signed for exclusivity on the PlayStation 3, and the game flopped almost certainly because the initial base on the PlayStation 3 in 2008 was woeful, and amongst also because it was 2008 and not 2006, the console had been around just long enough to have enough first-person shooters that a lot of people didn't want to go straight in for the 50-odd% on Metacritic Halo killer with the aggressive Halo killer mantle hovering around its name.
It's not even the go-to mediocre first-person exclusive shooter for the PS3. That was Killzone like 2, wasn't it?
I feel like Resistance: Fall of Man was the first mediocre.
Yes, that's true. That's 3, true.
Exclusive. But yeah, also
you sold it on me very
2.
hard, and then you lent it to me, and I was like, "What? This is like okay, look, I guess."
I hadn't played a lot of first-person shooters at the time. All right, it turns out it's at least slightly more creative than some, but also far shorter and less interesting than others. Anyway, Haze isn't too far off.
Imagine World War II, but if the Russians were alien mutants.
Yeah, some sort of plague monsters from space. I guess since then, Haze has apparently been a morbid fascination of mine, so much so that I bring it up all the time without even knowing so, and I constantly wonder how bad could it really be. I've now played plenty of bad first-person shooters, but it felt that because Haze was hyped up as the Halo killer, there was almost an incredible schadenfreude attached to it, where we all, even PlayStation owners at the time, kind of wanted to see it burn.
This had to have been like a PSN like bargain bin. You got a free with PlayStation Plus deal. It had to have been, right? Like, you didn't go out of your way to buy this, did you?
Oh yeah, no. I spent cold hard cash on Haze. What happened?
Give us a number, Lee. We want to hear.
It's like £1.50.
£1.50. That's fine. That's fair enough.
Again, it's CX. I recently got my PlayStation 3 back. It was on loan to Shane, my brother Shane, and he was basically using it as he wanted to get into gaming over lockdown, since he'd fallen off the wagon a bit since Skyrim was the last thing he really got into. And so I offered up the PS3. He took that and a bunch of games and proceeded to do for almost a year fuck all with the thing. So I decided to get it back, because there was some stuff I want to play on it that I have played since and will be talking about on future episodes of the podcast. So if it starts to look like there's a bit of a PS3 bent going on with a lot of the games I played, that's why. But I decided to treat myself and take a firm £20-odd note, a £20 note to CEX, and just grab armfuls of forgotten PS3 games off the shelf. And I got like
good
something
night
like
for your sex.
I know, I got something like 12 games. A lot of them like pretty good stuff that I should have played a long time ago, like Dead Space, that I'll eventually get around to playing. That kind of
I got
thing.
Resident Evil 5. It was Resi 5 Steelbook Edition for like $250. Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, PS3 games are going for very cheap these days, so it makes for a solid. Because again, I had a PS3, but I didn't have a lot of. It was at a time where I didn't have a lot of money to spend on games, so I didn't get to play a lot of the big releases on it. So I'm now crawling back and picking up all the weird ones that I looked at from a distance and never got a chance to play. Haze was firmly on that list. When I saw it in the shop, I was like, "Oh my god, I am doing this first thing." It has to be the first one, because
for the meme.
Yeah, for the meme, solely for the meme. But yeah, so I needed to know how bad it could truly be, and you know, when something gets the label of Halo killer, you just morbid curiosity. Anyway, that's exactly what's now that I've played it, I can deliver the firm statement that it is exactly as you would expect. It is really not that bad. It's really, really not.
I was about to say, is it? I'm going to take the wind out of your sails here and say that it is merely mediocre.
It is merely mediocre. You know what? I'm actually going to big it up because it's mediocre, but it has good ideas. I'm going to go on record to talk about some of those really good ideas that just didn't get good enough execution. But
if you were rating it on some kind of Metacritic aggregate website, would you say it is in fact a 50 out of 100?
I'd say it's almost exactly like the the Metacritic score. I think is like 56 or something. That would be like exactly right. It would be intrigue buy, an intrigue play. I wouldn't recommend it to, I don't know, like my brother, for example, or most of my family members or friends. But for history,
or indeed anybody.
Yeah, really. But history gaming nerds and the like, I'd say it's worth a shot on those grounds. You know, what have you got to lose? You've already seen some terrible crap. But I guess as you play it, you can definitely feel it's not quite living up to the cool ideas, which is probably what got people against it, while the critics against it, and that's mostly because its ideas are just so Moonbeam Nightwish wild. They have some really crazy mechanics in here that could have worked, and some mad writing. In 2008, we were just about ready to up the average scale of a game's production from voiceover on top of bobblehead marionettes to eyes and lips moving independently, and here comes Free Radical with their nuance-riddled rendition of fucking Heart of Darkness by way of Starship Troopers. It's shockingly intriguing.
So, what are these ideas? I do dimly recall a plot point and a mechanic being drugging yourself to the gills for combat reasons.
Yeah, if you've ever seen the marketing campaign, it spoils the entire gimmick of the game, and it's actually kind of on the cover of the game, so it's also hard to avoid. But the idea is this: you play as Shane Carpenter, who is a tool. He's like, quite literally, he is a weapon being passed around from militia to militia. He is a very good shooty man who who signs up with the last guy who said everything you know is a lie. that's his role in the story. And
what an idea! What a real pushing the envelope with this one.
Yeah, truly. He starts the game working for I guess I don't really know what they are. I guess they're a PMC. But they seem to be like government backed and have Black Ops clearance. He's working for it's a company called Mantel, and the idea is that the military, this Mantel, are pumping their soldiers full of something called nectar, which floods their bodies with stimulants, supplies them with like rewards for every kill, and also, and this is a detail I didn't really catch at first, but it's a pretty interesting one, it mentally obfuscates the horrors of war, so each soldier's brain never comes to term with the horror they're committing.
Until they're off the drug.
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Like in game, you could see this happen in game because the lore actually explains away, when you shoot a guy and the dead body kind of fades away for rendering issues, or to save space on the game. When they hit the ground, they fade away from your vision with a little animation effect, and apparently in game that is the nectar hiding the horror from you, which was neat, and was especially neat later on when it actually doesn't do that. Because if you've seen the trailer, the twist is he gets off the fucking nectar. He realizes that he's been senselessly murdering natives of insert unspecific Spanish accented country here, and has a crisis when one of the longer missions is you're chasing down the guerrilla faction leader that you've been propaganda to kill, a guy called Skincoat, who is not, in fact, wearing the skin of the man he has murdered, but is indeed just a local militia commander defending his land.
I'm just gonna look up real quick here. Metal Gear Solid 4, also 2008. So I guess we can't say that they were copying each other's notes.
No, yeah, it was just that time post Iraq War or mid Iraq War. I don't know what the timeline syncs up with that, but this kind of don't believe everything you hear game writing mentality was clearly up in the air.
Also, Metal Gear Solid 4, there was a big plot point in that as well. Remember the Guns of the Patriots, the nanomachine system that suppressed soldiers' abilities to come to terms with the evil of what they were doing, and when they were taken off it, they start projectile vomiting all over the place.
Yeah, that exact scene happens in Haze. That exact thing. You blow up the nectar reserves, and everybody unsinks and freaks out, and a lot of people just shoot themselves in the head and that kind of thing. It's a good scene. Maybe slightly better produced in Metal Gear Solid 4, in the spectacular Metal Gear Solid 4. Anyway, so the gameplay idea is that you leave when you leave Mantle and you leave the Nectar gameplay behind. You play as the militia with a totally different move set, I guess, and a lot of your enhanced abilities and powers are kind of swapped out for lo-fi militia weapons and so on. The tone of the story is kind of like a knowing nudge and wink satire. The troops are just so over-the-top violent, swearing, murdering bastards who like hoorah and fist pump their way through torching local villages.
There's the Starship Troopers.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Basically the only ones left behind at that point are the same Poe's Law abiding folk who don't even blink when watching Starship Troopers. The militia are portrayed as kind of quietly fanatical about Marino, aka Skincoat, and they kind of make him out to be like a sort of Che Guevara analog. And the whole story's got that whole air of like Obsidian Games is there's no right answers. Even though it's taken literally. What was really impressive about the story, though, is that it had recurring motifs. It had arcs. And it addressed a fear I had while playing it, because this happens a lot in games of this era, that retro jank paranoia is still in the forefront of the mind. It's hard to tell when, in all the over-the-top commentary in the game, whether it was actually intending to tell a story or whether it was just sort of using these themes as a backdrop to later drop and kick aside. But
it's not political, etc., etc.
Exactly. yeah. It just, we had some great, crazy ideas for characters, and we never really found a narrative thread to tie them together. It does have a thread. It has like an actual story it wants to tell, and it uses lines and has them recur. Like aside from the very predictable twist that I'm just going to spoil the game, by the way. Like I said, a lot of people shouldn't really play this, so I'm just going to fucking blow it all out.
I don't think you'll find anyone really rushing to stop you there, so by all means, go ahead.
You can stop now and watch the long play if you really, really want to. I had to do that to get some of the good quotes back. But I mean, one of the very predictable twists at the end is Marino, the militia leader, leans in and with the overused trope goes, we're not so different, you and I. That one, when he kind of takes up the mantle once. Well, that's wrong. It's a pun. He once mantle are dethroned, he takes up their super weapons himself, and the system, the cycle of vengeance, of violence recurs, and he goes, they're not so different, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, aside from that, though, a lot of the other story touches are really good. The main villain of the piece is your rank peer in Mantle, a guy called Sergeant Duval. You are Sergeant Shane Carpenter, and Sergeant Duval is kind of like your peer and boss. At times, he kind of leads the charge, and he spends much of his time waxing about the nature of man, in what has to be one of the hammiest, over-the-top performances I've ever heard. I really do recommend people watch a bit of the long play just for scenes of Duval screaming his head off. It's really, really funny. he's always talking about how he views himself as a carnivore, like a meat eater, and those who stand against him, the dummies of the world, are just meat. They're animals, and it's this weird like mixed metaphor, and you think it's unintentionally, it doesn't make sense, and then they end up. Hours later, Marino reflects on the soldiers as just animals, and you see that they were doing a thing, and that it actually did have a writer involved. And Duvall's lines, by the way, are so fucking good. What do you call it? He says, like one of them. Do you know what an army's greatest weapon is? Bullets.
So he's doing a real Colonel Kilgore thing. Isn't he?
Absolutely. Oh god. There's one where he says, "Don't be an ape. I eat apes." and in one of the 2 or 3 boss fights with him, he just screams at the end, "Meat!" It's really good. Also, there's the title drop, which is one of the funniest lines in the whole thing. There's a mission where you finally sober up. And you're running from Mantel. There's a commanding officer over the radio, who then they're like trying to track you down. They're going on a back and forth about that, and he just replies at one point, "Copy that. Carpenter is a code Haze. Exterminate with extreme prejudice."
Nice, very good.
It's a real B movie. I fucking loved it. But it also helps to make the characters really memorable. Like I do remember them quite fondly. Even like obviously the first half of the game where everybody's hoorahing is a lot more fun than the second part of the game where you're
miserable and hungover and like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, your main character doesn't develop all that much. He's just sort of a fucking he's a dummy.
He is first-person shooter, man.
Yeah. He just goes blindly and shoots people, and they kind of try to make a statement about that, but at the same time, you never really feel like you're him. You're just kind of following you're spinning the wheels of the game. But some of the mechanics are really, really good as well. I think it would be good to see them again in other games, like when you're playing as Mantle. Why do I keep saying that so weird? You can activate Nectar at any point for the ability to see enemies through objects and increased invulnerability.
Is there one that creates bullet time?
No. Oh no.
Ooh, really?
Wait. Maybe. Oh no, it does. Yeah, no, you're right. You're actually right. You're completely right. Completely forgot about that one. Yes, there is. You can slow down time with your adrenaline.
Always. It's just that era.
What was a really good system that they used from that, though, is that you activate Nectar, and you get your access to all your powers. But for each kill you get, a few more seconds are added to the limit of your Nectar countdown. So it kind of almost becomes this Devil May Cry multi-kill chain thing, where it would be rewarding you with because you get, I don't know, each kill you get to keep access to your superpowers. It just comes back into your feedback. It keeps you also healed up, so you're allowed to play more risky. The problem is the game isn't very good, and also didn't really go the extra step. So it does indeed do those things, but it could have, if it had thought about increased speed of your character and faster reloads and kind of those kind of things, it would have
made it a bit more Doomish.
Yeah, exactly. It just sort of, it in theory is a cool idea, but they don't actually make a multi-kill system that, it isn't stylish or interesting like Devil May Cry, but it could have been and should be in some game. Something along, I mean, I guess Hotline Miami does something kind of like that, where it kind of keeps track of your score via combos. But I think like that was a good idea, and it would have been good to see somebody take up the charge on that and make a sort of Devil May Guy.
Maybe if I guess if they did do that, they would need to think about how that would reflect in the second half of the game, when you're blinking sober where the jokes wear off.
I wouldn't
technically it wouldn't be congruent, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If somebody takes up that idea, I wouldn't make the other half of the game a system where you don't have access to that combo meter. I would just make that one thing in the game and just unlock better, interesting weapons as you go along, which Haze doesn't have. It just has sort of very boring, normal guns, despite its sort of sci-fi setting. But yeah, the other half of the game also has some good ideas as well, because when now that you, as the militia, can see bodies on the ground, and you're off the drug, you can make nectar grenades out of their bodies by like tapping into their suits, and also, and this is a really good idea that doesn't work great in the game, but because they can't see you if they think you're dead, the nectar wipes them out. You have a button to play dead, and essentially when you've taken damage, you play dead and hide on the ground, and then you turn invisible to the soldiers chasing you and shooting you, which is a great idea.
Neat. That is nifty. I do like that.
It just all it means though in gameplay is that you just don't die in the second half of the game, which is kind of ridiculous. So a solid idea. Wish they had thought of something to do with that. Like, I don't know, today they probably would have added like a moment to craft some new weapons or grenades or something while you were in that action that would have made it a little more actionable. But in that game, it just unfortunately doesn't. They don't really do anything. They don't really. There's nothing really made of it. The catch is obviously it all fucking feels really jank in the moment. Grenades feel fucking terrible, and the idea that one of your special moves in the second half of the game is that you get more grenades that don't even kill, but make people turn crazy and run around. It all feels like everything they give you just is a worse way of shooting at people. It's less constructive than just pointing a gun and pressing a button. And it keeps trying to get you in on these, like, oh, you can just throw a grenade. They're in cover, but it never really works. The AI doesn't really react properly. So it always feels terrible. And then guns themselves feel terrible because the recoil is bad, and also the graphics are brown on dark green, and most of the levels, 5 out of 8 hours, take place in jungles. So you can't see shit.
That's a PS3 exclusive unreleased 2008 title, all right. That's what that sounds like to me.
And it's also got that very. It's like a blast from the past. It's got really outdated map design. You know the type where you get easily turned around because you misinterpret a door and a building for a logical route when you were actually supposed to see the broken tree and rubble and know that was the way forward. I got turned around constantly in this game, and I had to, mercifully they had included, seemingly from bug testers or QA testers who said, I hate getting turned around in this game, is there any way we could streamline this? They mercifully added a restart from the last checkpoint button in the menu. I use that all the time. There's a compass. It's like the Skyrim compass where, you have an objective marker at the very top of the screen. But it is beyond useless because it only points you in straight lines, and almost every map is based in like corners of rooms design. So it's just pointless. Absolutely pointless. And like I said, cool concepts never really work. And also the AI, you get the AI. There's two problems with your teammate AI. This game is supposed to be played cooperatively through the story mode, and it has the major problem: that there is a vehicle section, there is a car, a warthog analog that the game really wants you to fucking love and fall in love with, but the AI cannot aim the gun, and you can only either drive. If you're playing alone, you have to drive. They won't drive the car. So the segments are just this awkward, constant back and forth of getting so far, getting your health whittled down, the car exploding, and then walking on foot for a little while, and then getting gunned down.
So the AIs don't drive?
No, they don't drive.
Oh, well, I mean, what kind of fucking Halo killer is that? Halo 1 could do that.
Exactly. Also, the AI spawn to your position constantly, and when they do, if you're anywhere near them, they'll spout one of up to 3 lines of dialogue, depending on your faction, and you will hear them shouting the words, "Remember your promise to Marino," over and over and over again, and it's really frustrating. So, not only plays like a mess, but it's also like audibly and physically uncomfortable to play. But it had good ideas, and it's also very like mercifully short. It's like a 6-hour game, so it doesn't wear out its welcome. It and the story's good, good enough. It at least has memorable characters and some
It's
good
all right.
quotes. Yeah,
it's not terrible. It's mediocre. It's bad. It's terrible. I hate it.
54% on Metacritic. I think on assessment, the good ideas are generally worth remembering, and if we could build on top of those, it's still quite a creative game. It's just like I don't want to Haze 2. Like, I think the concept was done, and it wasn't a great one because you had to
Would you
swap out
accept
your
a Haze
whole
2022?
What do you mean?
Oh, a reboot made next year.
No, I think other designers or the same guys should take some of the cool ideas and put them into games, like a first-person Devil May Cry alike for shooters would be a good idea. I don't know. I guess maybe Bulletstorm was a little like that.
Doom Eternal is pretty close to that because the way that the ammo works in Doom Eternal is that you get health by killing them with a glory kill.
Yeah.
You get ammo by killing them with the chainsaw. And if you kill them with certain weapons, they give other sorts of ammo as well. So you're always swapping back and forth, in almost like in the same way that you would swap back and forth between your weapons in Devil May Cry in order to keep your style meter up.
Yeah.
You're doing the same in first person in Doom in order to make sure you always have a balanced amount of ammunition.
I forgot that about Doom 2016.
Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal. Doom 2016.
Doom has the same. It does have the same sort of rhythm. You are incentivized to switch weapons constantly, and it's just to sort of manage your ammo and health coming in from the glory kills are in Doom 2016 as well, and that's how you get health back.
I know that, but
and chainsaw for ammo.
In Doom Eternal, they are very explicitly designing the game in such a way where you have to swap back and forth between weapons in order to maintain a balanced amount of ammo for each of them. Like in 2016, the chainsaw requires specialized ammunition, whilst in Eternal, you can use it whenever you want, but it gives you ammo.
Yeah. All right.
You're always
somebody's
back and
doing
forth.
something with that. That's good.
I'm being pedantic. I'm just saying, like, from a design perspective, it's deliberate in Eternal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, great. I think it's good that somebody was trying something like that early on. And it didn't even occur to me that Doom is basically doing that, which is why it is the front runner of first-person shooters for anybody who likes actual action games these days. It's stealing Haze's best ideas. That would be fucking hilarious if they if it came out, they sat down and like, you know what?
We're going to be the Haze killer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So if Doom wants to name drop Haze for credit, go for it. May its jank, may your jank legacy live on. For clout. Alright, that's game number 1 of my PlayStation foray, the parade. The second one I played, I finally beat. I've been on and off playing this for like easily, man, when did I get this? It was like 2018. I beat Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, really? Huh?
Far more modern.
You've been sitting on that one for a while, eh?
Seriously, it's like, oh man, because it was. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, but it was one of the last games I played fully immersed in Crystal Lizard Brain.
Yes. The worm squirms.
Yeah. The constantly looking to get trophies, constantly trying to get everything in the world was slowing down my experience of it, and I was playing it on hard mode, and I was playing it at a snail's pace, and I sunk about 30 hours into the game before even reaching the halfway point of the story. And so I sat down during our 4-week break, and turned out I was about 20 hours away from finishing the fucking thing, so I'm glad we had the break to do it. But I finally bested 2017's second best Zelda alike. Weirdly, Horizon Zero Dawn is a surprisingly difficult game to talk about or even think about, because despite all that time sunk into it, I at the end of it, I literally almost had no thoughts on the game in terms of design or achievement at all. Well, I mean, I should say I had no particularly kind thoughts about the game. Mostly, I have squabbles and concessions, which I will now rant.
Which I will now list out loud at great length.
Seriously, though. So I started an endless debate with myself about the resource scrounging in the game. I don't know. I mean, I guess I should explain what Horizon Zero. I mean, it is the hotness of recent times for PlayStation, and is now on PC for those willing to, you know. I mean, I'm going to go through all this, but I am going to say it is one of the easiest games to recommend to people that just want to play good world games, interesting concepts. I just, you know, I have standards that I have to uphold. But I started an endless debate with myself about the resource scrounging in the game. I just do not like games where I have to divert so much attention to resource gathering of mundane crap that I require to actually that you require to actually start enjoying the game. Like having to constantly acquire twigs and herbs for ammo and health, such an exhausting chore. And it forms the basis of this world, because for those who don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn takes place in a sort of scrounger post-dystopic world where we're back in the sort of caveman times.
But there's robots.
But there's robot dinosaurs. That's the gist. There's robot dinosaurs. There's an intrigue, a mystery about how the world got to be this way, and you play as essentially Aloy, the hunter-gatherer cave woman hero, who uses bow.
Adventure lady.
Yeah, adventure lady who uses bow and arrow to take down robots and some cool electronic dinosaur specific to destroying dinosaur gadgets and devices. And so it in the world you will spend a lot of time running around because you have to forage for basically all your ammo. It's just flax or like reeds with a bit of stone or a bit of metal. You get the resources and you craft them on the fly, and that's how you keep your arrow ammo up. And you do the same thing. And
is it not plentiful? Is it a pain in the ass? Is it?
It is a relentless chore. You will probably, if you did what I did, and you spent the first 30 hours of the game mindlessly picking up stuff as you explored the world, you could feasibly go through the next 20 hours of the game and never pick up another one of the most plentiful arrow making resource. You get the other resource from killing other dinosaurs. Like metal scraps form the tip of the arrow, so you will probably never run out of arrow making resources at all. It's some of the other stuff you might have to stop and pick up. You will always be picking up health, which comes in the form of tiny reeds that you pick up off the ground, and it gives you a percentage of health back that you can use at a certain point and bring you back to full health. And you can store up to like 170+% of your health on your person at any one time. But to keep that topped up, you have to constantly go out and pick up more reeds. And man, it's endless, ceaseless. That said, in fairness to Horizon, I can't deny, if there was a game to make this work, this would be the concept. This would be my candidate for most reasonably implemented mechanic within the context of the Games World Award, coming to Game Awards 2021. The game is about being an outside scrounger in a newly primitive world, so obviously it makes sense that you have to spend so much time hunting for resources. It just grows on as you constantly find yourself inundated with the need for more resources to keep your cool rope gun active and your cool bombs stuff topped up. You just need to always be picking stuff up. It becomes that. And what's more annoying as well is that Aloy has this very prolonged animation every time she picks something up. It's like 2 seconds of like bending to the ground, clicking.
I'm beginning to see now.
And man, it's like every time you press the pickup button, it's like repeatedly signing a contract to live a little bit less of your life each time. It just all adds up, and you realize you've spent maybe 3 full hours of this gameplay in pressing the one action over and over again, and it's not even a fun.
A bony finger tapping an hourglass as single dusts of sand drip down one at a time. It all adds up.
Exactly. It really, really does. And it's just it's the kind of thing, and you would hope that and it probably won't, because I'm sure most mainstream gamers didn't complain about it at all. But you would hope that a sequel or a version, or most other games, would just do an auto pickup system. What was the fucking original Doom, like current Doom? You know, you walk over something and it's in your inventory. Exactly.
And there you go, you've got it.
That was fine, you know, but we're in a world of form over function, and now every time Aloy has to bend over and pick up the chunks of each and every robot that she has broken down to get a decent chance at crafting a better bow. On and on it goes.
Listener, imagine we're trying to do our favor here. It all adds up. Just gonna slip a disc one of these days. All that bending away.
Exactly. I mean, I don't want to always beat up on this game, so I'm going to splice in kinder words here and there as well. You know, like
a token compliment
here and there. Yeah, for sure. Like I did eventually get into the story in the last third. Once the focus shifts hard from the boring political problems of the people in this newly civilized future world to how the fuck did the world really get this way, I was genuinely interested. I was kind of hooked on unraveling the mystery side of it, and the last third of the game is chock full of moments about that, where the first 2/3 of the game were like dealing with like local civilizations and petty wars and squabbles for artifacts they don't even understand, and you're kind of like, okay. I also, like, while I don't think I'm going to talk a bit about character writing at some point here, but I will give a shout out to my favorite character. He's a character called Silas, and he forms your sort of biggest frenemy for the latter half of the game. He's like a mysterious figure who eventually sides with Aloy, but kind of harbors secrets, intricacies about the world they're in that he never admits to, and he's always coy and evasive about all the questions he's being asked. I really like that character. He was really fun. They do a thing that's very annoying that the writers clearly want us to feel a certain way about him, which is that we're supposed to not trust him. And they keep, like, you know, that effect where you can sense the writers are hedging you towards, like, you don't like this guy. And Aloy responds to him snippily all the time, giving weird, curt responses for seemingly not enough reason. I found that to be a big drag on their relationship, which was the best part of the game.
Pritchard from Deus Ex Human Revolution, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want you to love this character. Something's wrong. That's a good shout. Yeah, it's like there's this. He might inevitably betray you, and we don't want you to be completely blindsided by that. Yeah, something like that. Basically, they do the same thing with Silas, even though he's portrayed interestingly and he does a lot of decent actions. The story never seems to add those up and take them legitimately, like that they happened, and so their relationship stays at a weird status quo of you're not telling me what I want to know, snippiness, and it kind of wears on what is probably the best character relationship in the game. I think the thing I wanted to talk about most about Zero Dawn is that it's just how nonplussed I am about it, because it kind of fascinates me. Like, to be honest, and I hope the things I've said on the show can back me up here, I am not a video game snob. I do not have a remarkably high threshold for entry here. I chastised myself the other day for thinking I was so completely done years ago with my copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 that I traded it in, because now I've had to go and order a new copy, and the price on those things has only gone up.
I don't suppose you were able to get the same copy at the place that you traded it off. Like, how I guess the question
People snapping them up.
I guess the question I'm asking is, how quickly did you regret this decision? Did you immediately like sell it and walk out the shop and go, "Oh no, how else am I going to hurt myself?"
It maybe take a full year to reckon with my actions, and it only took. I mean, I must have traded that in, probably about 10 years ago now. It took that amount of time to be like, okay, I'm at the line at which I must get my hands back on it, because at some point the curiosity to play it will overcome me, and I'll be like, yeah, I know how I felt about it at the time, but do I know how I feel about it now?
Just do what I do. Just watch a GDQ speedrun of it.
Oh, but it's all about right now. It's all about playing it. So that's what I'm talking about. My taste is not so good. That should be the sentence. My taste is not so good.
Whenever we do the inevitable Let's Play channel, the obligatory Let's Play channel, yeah, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to make me play it. I'm gonna be like,
yeah, absolutely. You have to.
Great time. Having a great time here playing this game. How do I speed dash? Oh, I died. Great. Woo!
Really selling the concept of a sweet Let's Play channel. You're ruining our biggest draw. There's nobody out there doing Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. That is free. that's
all right, listeners, put down bets right now. Who's going to finish their Sonic 06 playthrough Let's Play first? Is it us or Game Grumps? Take your bets.
Yeah, that's a good point. Could happen.
I mean, thing looked pretty close with that fake Danny is a pedo scare from like a few months ago, but
we're back on. It could happen. They could do it. There is competition to be had there that they aren't aware of and never will be.
No, I mean, because they started that playthrough with JonTron there.
That's
didn't
right.
They? And whenever the fake pedo scare happened, JonTron went, so I guess we'll be finishing Sonic 06 because the man goes for the jugular, I guess.
Oh, yeah,
the man knows how to, quote, read the room.
Jesus. Fuck. Anyway, yeah, I mean, like, taste is not good. I've played solo Mario Party DS for way too many hours. You just had an entire segment of this podcast where you talked about you playing Haze. Yes.
You don't need to convince anybody here. We believe you.
I ranked Danganronpa over Dark Souls last year. Yeah, that should be it. That should sort of wrap it up.
Lee's sitting here going, no, you need to believe me. My taste is terrible. And we're like, yes,
we know. We've known for quite a while. Yeah. But despite that, I mean, despite 30 or 40 hours of engagement, I left Zero Dawn feeling pretty dulled and unimpressed. And I want that to feel like it's coming from someone who shouldn't be too difficult to impress. Maybe that's what I'm going for. I mean, it should be even easier because fucking look at it. It's a beautiful Vista simulator where future Hunter Woman fights robot dinosaurs. It's like fan art for things in my brain. And not only that, like, it does a good job most of the time getting you to feel like the core gameplay of combat is pretty good at making you feel tense and underpowered against brutal machines. So, you know, some fights are genuinely very thrilling, but the sheer amount of guff you have to put up with overwhelms my thoughts, and when I cast my mind back at it, I can only think of the game they could have made, you know?
Does it smack of the Ubisoft open world problem of just having a whole bunch of shit to do, the surface level, like, inch deep stuff?
I mean, it is pretty packed full of, like, crappy collectibles that barely add anything to the world, but A lot of them do have like an intriguing lore tidbits to them. I will say, like, if you wanted to delve into the world, I think they do a good job of scattering information about it through collectibles. It doesn't feel as fun as like a BioShock makes it feel, where every voice read is like a little radio play that you really give a shit about. But you know, you go out and you see, like, one of the cool ones. You can get to certain points in the world, and if you look a certain direction, there's a tear in time, where you can look back at what the world was like beforehand and see like a scenic thing, like a football stadium or something, and see like whispers of a world that is no longer there. And I thought, shit, that's interesting, and that's a really cool way to get you. That counts as a collectible on your little list, but and you get experience and stuff from it. But at the same time, it's also a cool thing to look at and to engage in the world with. So some of the stuff's good. Other things, there's like these like metal flowers that are collectibles that are rare that you have to get a whole collection of to get a certain weapon or bonus or some shit like that. And it kind of just feels like they don't come with any lore or anything, so that kind of becomes monotonous. That one, yeah, stuff like that. It's up and down, swings and roundabouts.
Did you beat it?
Yeah, I beat it.
Oh, you did. Sorry, you mentioned you beat it, but overall, did you like it?
That's what I mean.
Nitpicks aside, I suppose you had your long list of things that you hated. I imagine you're about 2/3 of the way through. He said,
yeah,
hopefully.
I know.
But I guess on the whole, do you want to play the sequel, for instance?
Not really. I'm not really intrigued. To be honest, probably the thing is the nitpicks start to overshadow the positives at some point. I think when I think about what I actually did in the game, a lot of it, even the interesting combat and stuff like that, became routine, and then everything else started to weigh on top of that. The writing isn't great. For example, the side quests are really unexciting. You've got maybe 3 exciting creative weapons, and the rest are just sort of iterations on that. The HUD is cluttered to fuck, and the leveling system doesn't give you anything interesting, and you're constantly resource managing and scrolling through menus to craft things together, and they're all iterative and not very interesting. And that just sort of starts to weigh down what I did like about it. And then it's full of stupid things, like, you know, it does have like its own version of BioShock audio tapes essentially sprawled around, but a lot of the time they're in areas that they sit right next to each other, like several tapes, like right in front of you, as if the game knows you want the story in certain areas, so it gives you a bunch of different tapes in one room. And if you move out of that room, that will interrupt the audio and you'll have to start listening to it again. And if you start a different file, obviously it doesn't just save that, it starts playing the new file. So they want you to stay completely stationary for minutes at a time to listen to the audio. Because Aloy won't shut the fuck up, and when she walks around talking to herself, that will interrupt things, so you don't want to move too much either. And that kind of stuff, it means like even when you're trying to enjoy the lore, little stupid decisions like that mean that you're just constantly weighing up, putting your controller down and stepping away.
Death by 1,000 cuts, then, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, like, my only theory about it is that the standard of the gaming canon, the reason why it's weighing so badly and why it left such an overall negative experience in my head, is that the standard of the gaming canon is just so evolved from this style of gaming in the short time between Metal Gear Solid 5 and Horizon, which I would say is its closest analog. I've used that word too many times today. Let's say comparison, like a normal person.
100%.
It just feels like by the time it's come out, or even a year later, Horizon already feels surprisingly dated. Especially, I mean, brutal that it came out the same year as Breath of the Wild. My god, I mean, systems of exploration in Breath of the Wild all come back in on themselves and feed into each other, so that you're constantly getting something from the exploration process. And it doesn't have any of the depth of the earlier release of Witcher 3, which is kind of what it's closest to as well in terms of leveling systems and stuff like that. It doesn't have any of the way it integrates. The crafting system in Witcher 3 is really well integrated into the combat system in that game, and Horizon didn't have anywhere near as good as that. And it also doesn't. It has a like a narrative tree system that doesn't do anything. And these are just like these are the canon games, you know. These are the big ones, like The Last of Us. It's not as stealthy or as narrative focused. It's not as engaging as The Last of Us. Again, came before. It doesn't feel as scrappy at times as the Tomb Raider reboot. You know, like with these things, these comparisons are all older and newer games, and it kind of all levels. Horizon starts to feel weirdly dated, and that's when you don't even talk about games outside the canon, like Disco Elysium, where you've got narrative choice systems. That
like the wazoo.
Yeah, and
you're coming down in them. You're spoiled for choice.
It makes games like Horizon Zero Dawn feel completely lacking. But you know, like I can't think of a time a narrative choice really mattered. And maybe that's it's probably not fair to say, because it's obviously trying to go for a bunch of things, and it's also a pretty fucking good stab at a whole new IP from a studio who used to make first-person shooters primarily. You know,
yeah, they were trapped. They were trapped in the mediocre PlayStation 3 exclusive shooter Killzone area that the same pit that Haze came from.
Yeah.
So they got out, so they're doing their own thing now again, which is a relief, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're factoring that kind of context, of course it's really, really impressive. And the fact that they brought out something this bold out of nowhere is obviously it kind of helps forgive a lot of the stuff that weighs on me. But then when I look at the sequel, it also doesn't look like they've really learned the right lessons, and more that they're just looking at what Breath of the Wild added to the formula in bits and pieces, like hover glider things and stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, Breath of the Wild was more successful than us in some regards that year. While we'll meet them, we'll take some of their ideas, and then people will praise us for being just like Breath of the Wild. And I just feel like it's not probably going to address the things I didn't like most about the story. And I think that the master log in that dam is Aloy herself. I think that she's just there's not really anything striking about the character. If that's I don't know really how to phrase this.
Can you do the what is it, the Plinkett review of Phantom Menace, where can you name things about her personality that aren't related to her appearance or her job or the role she plays in the story? That's
what I mean. Like she plays a very pivotal role in the narrative, both of the lore of the world and of the actual focus of the story in the game. And she is, like a lot of video game characters, the hero. So they show up, they rock up at a bunch of social political problems and just solve them like they're invincible. And that's video games, so we can't take much points off for that. But she doesn't have like one thing about her character that really stands out. She's not. I mean, like, if you think about the world she's in, she talks to herself when you're walking around. Like, she talks to herself out loud. And you would think that would make her a little more endearing. Like, that is a trait. But it doesn't... They don't do anything with it. She doesn't say anything weird. She just sort of describes what's going on. I've grazed my knee. Oh, there's a dinosaur. Better keep quiet. But it's never anything, like, dry, like Geralt when he talks to himself, or or is sort of witty as the prince from Sands of Time, or dopey as Spider-Man. These characters who all chat to themselves out loud. She kind of sits calmly in the middle, occasionally rolling her eye in a sulky sort of way about what's going on and the demands the world has of her. But other than that, I'm not really sure what else about her character. I mean, she's kind of impetulant, I guess. She's standoffish, which makes sense because she's had a fucking hard life. So fair enough. But it doesn't make for there's nothing absurd about her or notable in the ways that she interacts with people. She's very straightforward, I guess, and that can rub people up the wrong way. I guess that's
she's
her
boringly, is what you're saying. She's boring.
Yeah, probably the way to go. I just wish they had done one thing. I wish she made like bad quips to herself or something like that, or just or just laugh, just be a bit mad in some regard. Just one thing that I could say I really like about Aloy is that she does that from time to time, but she doesn't have a single element like that, and it makes her very unengaging when she talks to people, which she does a lot in this game, and she just sort of accepts everything like it's a burden personally on her, and that's about as far as it goes. And I would say the one thing that I straight up like about her is that she brutally ices her enemies.
Doesn't fuck around.
Yeah, like one of the main villains, even if you poetically forgive him in a dialogue option after beating him, she will still spear him through the heart like a fucking piece of meat. So I mean,
that's that caveman life.
Yeah,
she didn't pick it. It shows her.
That sort of action over words nature, I guess, could have been interesting if followed through a little more. But that's the best thing I could say about her, is sometimes in cutscenes she does things that are kind of cold, and I like that. That was at least something. It doesn't endear me to her, but it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be endeared. It's just a thing about her that I can say, hey, she's a bit cold.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna be spending like 100 hours or whatever, you have to like her a little bit, just a little.
Yeah. So that's, I guess that's central to most of my problems. But then there's all the other shit, and then it just, by the end of it, you can understand why I walked away with like a sour taste in my mouth about the whole experience, and it hasn't endeared me to the world. It actively kind of worked against it, and that's basically all I have to say about Zero Dawn. I mean, like, I still think it's one of the it'll in the sort of current roster of AAA games that follow the Ubisoft formula. It at least has a lot more interesting elements about it that I could say I would recommend it way over like a Far Cry game.
Mm-hmm. That was my next question. Is it the better alternative than an Ubisoft game?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would still find Assassin's Creed more interesting because their world is based on something that
they've got the history angle, like teaching you stuff.
You're always going to get something out of that world, even if the story fucks it up. Or it doesn't really make the best of it. You will find neat things about our real world through it, and it basically plays just like Horizon. So I mean, a lot of the time, yeah. And the fact that they kind of play anything at all the same when the game is about hunting robot dinosaurs kind of underlines what one of the big problems is that it just doesn't feel distinct and interesting enough. But again, like, obviously a lot of people just want to fucking play a cool game. A cool game where you hunt robot dinosaurs would be one of those. So I can recommend it for that, and that's about the height of it. Everything else will probably get under your skin and make you feel like, ugh, why am I wasting my time with this? And that is my week. So,
chunky.
Shall we go to news? Or will we?
Yeah, all right. We've got. Let's see. I can go straight to news. What are we looking at here? 2 hours and almost 20 minutes now, including the break. Why not? Why not go on to the news?
We'll be quick. We'll do it snappy this time. Cut it down to a handful of stories. Leave on a high.
You can't promise that, Lee. You can't promise that.
Okay. All right.
All right. Boom 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 dun 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 news.
It's good. I kind of shocked we haven't used that one yet.
I know. I'm going to go for all the Looney Tunes stock ones that everybody knows but don't know the name for. Everyone's heard but doesn't know the name for. That was, I think that's called
It's
Powerhouse.
Powerhouse, yeah.
It is okay. That's really. Whew.
I know that one. If you start naming other Looney Tunes songs, I probably won't know the name of them.
All right, what have you got for the news, Lee?
Okay. Housemarque, Housemarque, the studio that made Returnal for the PlayStation 5 recently, just got purchased by Sony, by PlayStation, which is good. That's good for them. They're like I believe they're a Finnish company. They've made games such as Resogun and Super Stardust something. You know, the shooter, another spaceship shooter. They kind of make arcadey games. They're quite talented, and I think they were still working like a lot of companies at that level, contract to contract, but they specialize in weird offbeat arcade, like polished arcade games, which obviously makes them a hard sell for both publishers and you know,
Returnal is proof that they've got their chops. They've got their AAA chops.
Yeah, it feels very much like Returnal was the we'll give you one good shot. It was like their chance from Sony, like, we'll give you the budget to make a real big game, an exclusive for us that can keep your roots, your arcadey roots, but also fills a AAA niche. And lots of people said they really, really enjoyed it. And
even
brutally hard.
Even if the save files keep fucking up in the middle of a run, which isn't great.
Yeah, no, of course. But it's good, I think. For a company like that who want to make more offbeat or traditional arcadey feeling games, it's probably for the best that they are sort of safely under the umbrella of a different company for at least as long as these companies tend to last with the same creative staff, which is, I don't know, maybe max 10 years, and then everybody leaves and starts again because they're tired of working for their overlords. Thus, the video game industry, a terrible place to work. But good for them,
the grindhouse, the millstone.
Yeah.
In which your spirits will be grind to dust, and that dust will be snorted up by executives.
Of course. What about you, Lawrence? What you got?
You hear this shit about Marvel's Avengers? Sorry, Square Enix's Marvel's Avengers by Clive Barker?
No, I haven't heard anything about it recently.
It's been displaying people's IP addresses on screen as they're playing.
Oh my god.
Like a big floating text saying like their name and their IP address. So if you're streaming this game, you've just been doxxed, maybe? Not sure about that.
What the fuck? What a mess. On an already growing list, a Fallout 76-esque list of messes from this fucking company and this stupid game.
Like, dead on arrival.
Yeah.
And,
taking everyone with it.
It keeps getting out of the grave, and we keep shooting it in the chest, but it keeps trying to get out.
Yeah, it keeps taking a few of our own each time, doxing its own users. That's amazing. Let me see. What else we got? Oh, CyberConnect 2 have had a Demon Slayer game out in Japan for a while, but because the film recently, Mugen Train, was shockingly successful in the West, we're going to get it, which is great because I love the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games.
I was going to ask CyberConnect. Those are the Naruto and the
Naruto guys.
My Hero Academia. They did that one as well.
Yes, did they? Yeah, I'm sure they did.
It's almost like it's the exact same game, but with some of the character models swapped around and some of the levels swapped around.
They also did Captain Tsubasa, the anime football game, so there's a break in form. So
that's true. I am intrigued by that game. I'm not sure I'll ever buy it, but
I keep meaning to get it at some point. So you'll probably play it when I get it because it looks like the perfect
fascinating
night in kind of game.
I've seen GIFs, and based on what those GIFs have shown me, I would be very interested in taking that.
Some high meme material for sure. So yeah, that's great because as recently discussed, Demon Slayer, love that show. Have watched the first season and also have seen the film twice now. Weirdly, I went to the cinema to see it twice.
Apparently, it's the most shonen thing around. People watching it go, this is such a shonen, but it's good, so I don't care.
Yeah, it's already in the anime already is over, or sorry, not the anime, the manga is over. It has an ending. It doesn't go on forever. So that was one of the major reasons why I got into it in the first place. The other one is that I stuck with it because it's just well written. The characters are not as noticeably shonen-y. They hug a lot and they cry a lot. You know, they're very emotional. I really like them.
Very unlike shonen characters to hug and to be emotional.
Usually they feel rage and get some sort of power up from that.
No, how quickly you forget, Lee, the phenomenon of glomping.
Oh yeah, of course.
How could you forget glomping? That's a period of history that I'm glad is behind us, but it's still there, waiting in the wings.
Of course, at certain Comic-Con of type of conventions. I thought it was a really redundant statement.
I'm pretty sure they banned glomping at conventions.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because fuck that shit.
Yeah, Mugen Train is a film about a kid crying maybe 10% of the runtime. It's great. Worth seeing twice, apparently. Shane, my brother, hadn't seen it, so I went to see it a second time.
And what did he think? What was his hot take?
Oh, he loved it. Yep. Solid anime stuff. There's an amazing line where the villain of the piece yells out in the very anime tradition, screams to the air, "I have fused my entire body with this train!"
Very good.
That's good stuff. That was primo anime highs.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, okay. I'm now forcibly being silent to urge you to fill that void.
Okay, I've got two quick and dirty ones. One, Sonic Minecraft came out, but as far as I'm concerned, Sonic Minecraft already existed because you could just mod them in. Yawn.
Yeah, of course.
Also, what's the Magic the Gathering game that you play?
It's Arena.
It's not Magic Legends.
It sure isn't.
Shutting down, which is discontinuing, and I'm like, well, I hope Lee knows so he can, I don't know, like crack into the Pentagon to get all his money back or whatever the fuck.
Magic the Gathering Arena is just online Magic the Gathering. It's just the Hearthstonification of Magic. It is the exact card game. It's great. Magic Legends was a mobile-only Diablo clone, I believe, which was in was in a beta for the last 7 months and has closed before it even made it out the door.
Dead on arrival?
Yeah, very much so. Turns out there's not a lot of crossover for Magic to just jump into mobile dab, especially when it's competing against itself. Arena is so good and it's on mobile and people should play it. Even though you're wiring yourself into into an endless feedback loop where the only way to win is to pay good money.
Maybe they should do like did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons? Was it Legends of Mystara or something? Like the 4-player beat 'em up.
I did. I played a little bit. I think I got it as a PlayStation Plus download a while ago for the PS3. A while ago, that's got to be like 4 years at least.
They should get that. They should do something like that. Except that you play as 4 planeswalkers, like
Name them. Jay.
No, the blue one. No.
I don't know their
Chandra, names. The red one. Chandra.
Yeah. There you go. I know.
There you go. I got one.
Yeah, I agree. I think now that you look at the success of the new Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, and now that you know that Wizards of the Coast own both those IPs, I could see Magic blending into that world a lot more. It's even happening in the actual Magic card game. The next core set is going to be Dungeons and Dragon themed, and will apparently have cards that allow you to go on mini storied adventures through dungeons during your card game as a little spin-off adventure for bonuses and stuff. So pretty intriguing. Looking forward to that. But yeah, I think now that they're kind of crossing the lines between the two, I can definitely see somebody doing something with the Magic formula, and I don't know. I would expect a 4-player Warhammer First Similitude 2 alike it with a Magic skin would do pretty well. Vermintide, by the way. That's what I was joking about. It's a callback to last week. I made a bad joke about it last week.
Very good. Very clever.
No, it
very
isn't.
Droll.
All right. Sony is apparently going to allow you to keep buying PSP games after all. So remember, this comes back to a previous story where they boldly stepped out and said we're shutting the stores for PSP, PS3, and PS Vita. Then
they boldly turned their tail and fled. Brave, Sir Sony.
Of course. So they changed their mind. They allowed you to keep. They're going to keep the Vita and PS3 stores open for the foreseeable future, which is as long as they could keep making money of it and people don't shout at them. But then they are still shutting down the PSP store. Well, I think the wire got crossed there at some point where it seemed like you wouldn't be able to get digital PSP games anywhere, but apparently the PSP store is still going to close, which does suck, but you can still download them via Vita and via PS3, which you can use the USB link to PSPs and download games directly from the console to the game. So you can still get your PSP games. That's all I'm saying. That's the story. You will still be allowed to purchase PSP games. They're just shutting down a storefront, which would be the most direct way to do it. That's news now.
All right, enough seconds have passed to indicate to me that you're waiting for my turn. So
yes,
I'm going to go
correct.
next. Did you hear that Apex Legends has been hacked? But
nope.
it has not been hacked to get data or money or to cheat the game. It has been hacked in order so that the hacker can link you to a website where they basically plead to Respawn Entertainment to fix Titanfall from getting hacked by so many players who are cheating to beat the multiplayer.
Wow.
And they're fucking fed up.
And so,
which is a nice bit of great
Apex.
They hacked Apex so they could go, hey, hackers are ruining your other game, which I would much rather be playing. Can you fix it, please? Thank you. Which that's a nice bit of grey hat hacktivism that I can get behind.
Absolutely,
that's nice. I like that guy's energy.
That's
let's see.
Behind it,
they replaced the Battle Royale's server playlists are being replaced with a message that says savetitanfall.com. TF1 is being attacked, and so is Apex. And the players also received an important message pop-up after matches, directing them to the same URL that has been active for a few months now.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with a little hacktivism. Hacktivism. My god. Some
hacktivism
words stumbling from my mouth.
I like the energy of that. Of saying, hey, fix your shit, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. That's all they're saying.
I love as well they did it by exploiting the current game. So that they also need to patch that up too, apparently. That's good. Good. All right. The Humble Bundle charity cap is back, and it's here to stay.
They did their boomerang. They chickened out,
as we rightly called at the time.
They waited for the outrage to die down, and then they doubled down.
Yeah. They all but promised that they would definitely bring in a cap at some point. I don't think it's as bad as the original cap, and I think I guess there's still outrage, obviously, but in my
that's
head,
calculated, isn't it?
Yeah. What they've done, I think last time they put a 15% max cap on charity, if I recall. This time it's the other way around. There is a 15% minimum required spend towards Humble Bundle, the organization, which I guess on some level isn't unfair. You could go 100% charity and not give shit to anybody.
Except
I guess if
starving black babies in Africa, you mean?
Yeah, of course. I guess I guess the thing 15% to me seems a little high for a Humble Bundle tip, especially since these come in en masse, so they get a lot of money just for wheeling and dealing, and I don't know, it just doesn't. Now that they're also owned by IGN, it just feeds IGN's ability to keep them going, and also their service, their their fucking Game Pass service thing.
Still doesn't feel good, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
still
yeah. There's still a lot of rough edges to the whole thing, but at the same time, it at least isn't a max cap of 15% on charity, which would fucking suck. So
I feel like this needs another round of haggling. That's never gonna happen. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I agree. So that's that story. Was that a good enough cue?
Yes, it was. Do you have any other stories? Because I have one last one. I think it'll be a good one to end on.
All right, okay. I'll burn through a couple more. Skyward Sword, getting quality of life improvements. So there was a video released by Nintendo,
including Fi or Fi is a bit more taciturn, shall we say?
Yeah. You get to. Your sword now glows, and she doesn't just pop up at every fucking single chance to yammer in your ear. That is a genuine. That was one thing I said to Maria, my wife Maria. If they did make that kind of change, I would be interested in actually playing Skyward Sword, a game that I know is going to be a fucking mess no matter what they do to it.
Buying at full price, maybe?
No, of course not. I mean,
I thought not.
No, maybe down the line I'll just get a fucking the deal version. Physical copy or something. Other stories. Dead Space. This isn't your last story, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, good. Dead Space.
I know that there's a Jimquisition waiting for me at the end of the day for me to watch. Where apparently they hate. There's a reason for me to hate this game. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm ready. I'm all ears.
Dead Space went from getting a potential new entry to getting a reboot to getting a remake. So they're just remaking. They're remaking Dead Space. One of those was probably the right call. I'm going to say reboot would have been a good one.
I'm not too sure about that.
Could pare
I
back
would have
some
went
of the
for
mess.
a sequel. I mean, the way that Dead Space, like the last chronological thing to happen in the Dead Space franchise is, how do I put this? Imagine the jaws of Cthulhu about to bite down upon the entirety of planet Earth, and you're watching it happen, and he's like, oh no! That's the last thing that happens. That's the cliffhanger that it ends on.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm very interested in seeing how they plan on working around that. But if they're just going to reboot, then whatever. No, I would have liked to see a sequel.
Well, they're not rebooting either. They are just remaking. So, I mean, in fairness, you might get a sequel someday if the remake does well, but probably not.
I would not hold my breath, especially because I made a mental connection in my head that sort of got me real excited. Where, like, do you remember how Dead Space has planet crackers, where they break open asteroids and mine them? That's how they get things in that series.
Okay, sure. I've not played it.
I know that, but I did briefly play it at your house, and I showed you this. This is like in the first hour sort of thing.
Sure.
Do you remember about how that game series is about repurposing power tools in order to kill terrible mutant zombies? What if you repurposed a planet cracker to kill Cthulhu? That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. But you'll never see it.
Like, no, you never will. Just very disappointing.
Fuck.
Dead Space isn't really a game that's in need of a remake at all. It still looks good.
That's what I was thinking. Also, because EA Play is on the Xbox Game Pass, more people than ever can just play Dead Space without having to track down a copy. So, isn't it going to be weird if there's like just a slightly more polished version up there? It's not even like there's not a lot to add there.
There's very little to add.
And a lot to lose, especially since lighting is important to Dead Space, and we know what they do with lighting in remakes. Yeah,
that's true. Dead Space 1 is an excellent game. There's nothing there really that is in need of remaking. Like, it looks and sounds great. Even, like, it must be almost... That was 2008, right? No, it was 2009.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
It was in the same year as Mirror's Edge and I think Mass Effect 1. That's how I can remember. That was the year that EA, for a glimmering moment, seemed to be doing good for once.
Yeah.
How quickly we fall from those lofty heights.
Yeah.
Yes. This is perplexing news to me. There's no reason for this to be remade. This is like Last of Us 2 remastered or something, or was it the remastering the Last of Us again?
The first one.
Again.
Well, they're not remastering. They're remaking it this time. They're going top to tail.
No point.
No need
really
for
no
that.
reason.
Still quite a strikingly beautiful game. Dead Space, in that era as well, just used its resources well. It looks good. It still looks good, so pointless. All right, in Smash Bros. News, the next DLC character, which is not Kazuya, but the one after, is the final one for Smash Bros. Ultimate, so the final rallying cries for who's getting in.
Well, we know who's not getting in.
Featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series.
Did you? Did you? What? The characters being relegated to Mii fighter skins or assist trophies? It was who was it? Dante was one of them. Yep. Dante was the Mii fighter, and who was the other one? Who was the assist trophy?
Assist trophy?
Yeah, but there was another character that was basically deconfirmed for Smash Brothers Invitation.
Let me find out.
It was Shantae, but I think Shantae would.
Yeah, that was an off-color bet. That was.
It's nice that she's getting represented. You know, an assist trophy is a good place for Shantae. She's in that space where she's not substantial enough to be made a full character, but you get an assist trophy. There you are, happy stuff.
Let me see. Let me get the.
It's like Shovel Knight. Everyone goes, "Yay!" That's all that we could have expected.
DLC. Here's the list of the DLC characters deconfirmed. Akira from Virtua Fighter, Altair. Yeah, we got Shantae and other various characters of that. Like we got Bomberman.
Bomberman's an assist trophy, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's been there for a while.
Dante.
Mii fighter.
Dixie Kong.
Assist trophy, one assumes.
No, just a hat.
Oh, well, not even that, huh?
Hihachi. Monster Hunters.
Ooh, that one stings. For some
Isaac
people,
from Golden Sun. Knuckles, Tails.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Something from the Tales series. You know
the Tales of
series. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hero 2.
Yeah.
Hero Sword Fighter anime. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Various other Mega Man. Let's see. Yeah, the other Persona protagonists, which I mean, fair enough, we got one.
No, one's all you need.
Personality. Rabbits have been deconfirmed.
Mercifully. There was a period of time when the crossover, the XCOM Rabbids Mario crossover, where I got a little worried, but I don't think that's gonna happen now, so that's a relief. Rayman's not gonna happen, but I can hope. A man can dream.
Travis Touchdown.
Nah, no way.
He's not getting in. Well, he's the Fallout mascot. Oh, Skyrim. That was the big one from the latest.
That's the one. Yeah,
Dragonborn.
Mii Sword Fighter Dragonborn, where he belongs, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Cameo.
Absolutely. Oh, right. So I was reading from the wrong list. Shit, that whole time there's so much smarter.
Maybe Crash Bandicoot? No, probably not.
That seemed like a big one for the last one in the game.
Yeah, I think maybe people are looking at the patterns in which these are released, in which there's a few crowd pleasers, then there's an anime sword fighter, so maybe we might be doing another anime sword fighter. Who can say?
Sure.
Maybe Ratchet and Clank would be a good one, because they're still relevant.
That's true. That would be a big inroads with Sony. I think their plans to have inroads with Sony died a few years ago, so they have crossplay on some games, and that is as far as things go.
Doom Guy. I'm always burning a torch for Doom Guy.
Yeah. I mean, Bethesda seems to have the closest relationship at this point.
And he's got a sword now, so now you can just make him a boring anime sword fighter.
Yeah. Gino, of course, was deconfirmed a while ago.
Of course. Yeah, was he made into a Mii fighter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
And Sans from Undertale was a famous one as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, him and Toby Fox are apparently friends, which is very strange to me.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Toby Fox went to his house to play Smash with him. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know
Crazy.
That. Amazing. That is my news stories. So hit me up.
All right.
I mean, I didn't want to talk. There is also Chris Avellone is back in the news for trying to get a court case against his accusers, but I'll probably skip that one. It's just a bit bleak, and I don't want to give him any attention.
Let's not bring down the mood about things that we don't actually know anything about. Good call. Okay,
great.
So, did you know that Sonic is going to become a VTuber?
I think I saw something about this, but no, I did not know. I cannot confirm with my own eyes.
Currently, it's Japanese only. There's a Polygon article about it now if you want to look it up. In hindsight, this is something that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Because he's a character that I guess
trash tier gaming mascot who could get away with this.
My questions are mostly around the logistics of this. How is this going to work? Are you going to have like Roger Craig Smith like just becoming like smoking a bunch of peyote and just disappearing into the character on a permanent basis now?
That would like be amazing.
A mocap face.
You know what? The Sonic Adventure voice actor Ryan Drummond, he's been doing like a lot of he's been doing his own with some of the original cast members from the Adventure games. They've been making like their own fan radio plays.
Okay.
Maybe here's my wild pick. They could hire Ryan Drummond to be the he's still out there trying to get the role back.
I want to see a future headline where Sonic gets cancelled because he said the gamer word on stream. I want to be him on the PewDiePie PUBG bridge. I want to see that screenshot. I want to see that screenshot above the headline with him at the bridge with like an uh-oh face. You know the bridge I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, in Green Hill Zone.
No, I'm talking about the PUBG bridge.
Oh, very embarrassing then.
Where PewDiePie said the N-word, and it's like photos taken like seconds before disaster. There was a whole meme about it.
Wow, no, I do not know that meme. I do not know anything about it.
That's when he get in trouble. I want to see that bridge. I want to see Sonic's face in the bottom left-hand corner going, "Uh-oh, that's no good."
Amazing.
Like, because it will happen. Maybe not the N-word, maybe, but he's going to be saying "uh-oh." He's going to make a whoopsie at some point.
Yeah, we're going to find out he's got like really antiquated gender ideas.
Yeah,
he just doesn't believe women deserve to hold their own careers.
The chat's not going to help. We've got a donation of 50 bits from this guy asking Sonic, "What's your opinion on the great race enigma?"
Have you read the latest in advanced race theory?
Have you play Disco Elysium? I want to see Sonic play Disco Elysium. What's his opinion on that?
I want to see where his morality ends up.
Yeah, he would probably be an ultra liberal. Let's be real here.
Yeah. He's
all about that
super not cool. He's like shockingly conservative.
He's the 9mm finger snapper.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, that's perfect.
We've already seen like bits of this. This is going to be the next generation of you remember dumb brand bullshit where brands argue with each other like Wendy's and the Colonel over Twitter, and it's the most disgusting dystopic shit in the world. We're staring down the barrel of the next generation of that, where it's like Colonel Sanders, the VTuber, which is weird because he was a real person, so it's like
that's eerie.
That's a little unsettling. But like
absolutely.
Wendy, Sonic, it works because he's been mired in like postmodern, like weird internet cringe culture for like the last 10 years. So he's a good fit, at least. Let him play Sonic Dreams Collection. Someone trick him into playing Sonic Dreams Collection. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
That's what's got to happen. Amazing news. I hope it's not in like full Japanese. That would be very disappointing. It's probably gonna be.
Yeah. Bring it to the West, cowards. I want to see it.
We need Americanized VTuber Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic, show feet.
That's when he plays. That's when he plays Dream Collection. You got to show feet Sonic in that.
That's true.
Ugh. There's an image.
I couldn't suppress the visceral feeling that went through me as I mentioned that. Sonic VTuber. I want to see it. I want to see him say a racial slur on air and be cancelled for it.
Oh man,
that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
that's my news.
Well, that looks like a podcast.
It does look like a podcast. Let me look at Audacity. 2 hours and 50 minutes almost. Not bad. We're getting trim. We're getting lean.
Yeah. I know. This is next time we're just going to do a nice old fashioned one game a week, because I want to trickle down the list that I've prepared and get the biggest relax bucks out of this new setup as I can. I want to earn my solitaire stories for Apple Arcade time. You know, I want to be able to casually play that and not feel like I'm wasting precious. I still haven't beaten Final Fantasy VII. What am I doing?
I haven't beat Bloodborne either. Don't think I forgot about that one, bad boy.
Bloodborne. And what's my list look like? That I have announced previously. God of War. I feel like I talked about God of War. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. Haven't beat that. Danganronpa 3, of course. Are you not? If anything, the one upside is I have been so preoccupied playing solitaire stories that I have made no progress towards the next hour-long segment with me ranting about Danganronpa 3. So you're spared for now, listeners.
All right, we're sub 3 hours. Let's keep it that way. And let's nip this in the bud. Is GDQ in front of an audience right now? Or is it still people in their living rooms?
Still people in their living rooms.
Damn, curses!
Another year.
I'll find a good one. Don't you worry. All right, listeners, it's okay now. You can go watch GDQ now.
You're free. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you whenever the schedule aligns. Keep an eye on the Twitter. Till then.
We'll find you at an undisclosed time in the future that will take you completely by surprise, and you'll be an hour in by the time you get to it.
Yeah, we'll play Stellaris at some point and then announce when the next actual stream will be on that stream. There you go. You're in the loop now. Goodbye.